Going? You mean trying to force an even higher evolution for the blood god fruit? The protagonist nodded. Exactly. A person can only benefit from a blood god fruit once in their life. We shouldn't settle for good enough. If we're doing this, we should aim for the absolute pinnacle. Ngui Tut Hoi grinned. I like your style. Let me see what I can do. He channeled his energy, merging two of the matured, ripe fruits together. The deep crimson has vanished. The fruit has been reborn as a shimmering golden blood fruit. Success. The fusion of two ripe blood god fruits has resulted in a single legendary golden specimen. The transformation is more than skin deep. The very soul of the fruit has ascended. Having tasted a medicine king before, I can tell this golden fruit's potency is easily on that level. Li Loi gasped. Equal to a medicine king? That's insane. People would start a war just to get their hands on one of these. We aren't done yet, the protagonist said firmly. Keep pushing. Without hesitation, Ngui Tut Hoi began the next synthesis. The fruit has completely shed its organic appearance, crystallizing into a unique star-like shape. Ngui Tut Hoi exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. 8 consecutive fusions. We've hit the absolute ceiling for the blood god fruit. It won't accept any more energy. Li Loi leaned in, looking puzzled. It looks kind of plain now. Aside from the weird shape, I can barely feel any power coming off it at all. Ngui Tut Hoi shook his head. That's how you know it's a true treasure. Most items break after 3 merges, but this held for 8. It has likely reverted to a primordial state, hiding a cosmic level of potential within. Li Loi's excitement returned. In that case, let me be the one to experience this cosmic power. The protagonist cautioned him, Li Loi, this fruit is now far beyond the power of a medicine king. The strain on your soul could be immense. Are you sure? Li Loi looked him in the eye with newfound resolve. To Tram, I know the risks. But in our world, the moment we step onto the Abyss battlefield, our lives are on the line every single day. I refuse to walk away from any chance to become a powerhouse. The moment he swallowed the celestial essence, Li Loi's body was engulfed in a swirling vortex of blinding white light. Tears began pouring down Li Loi's cheeks, yet he let out a joyful roar. My mental capacity is skyrocketing. Everything is so clear. This feels incredible. The protagonist stepped closer, concerned. Li Loi, talk to me. Are you holding up? Li Loi wasn't just weeping. A thick stream of blood began trickling from his nose. Still, he managed a thumbs up. Brother Toe, I've never felt better. Duet pointed, her voice trembling. Your nose, you're bleeding everywhere. Li Loi casually wiped the blood away, his eyes glowing. Small price to pay for this much power. Then, without another word, his eyes rolled back and he slumped to the ground. The protagonist froze, stunned by the sudden collapse. A few moments later, Li Loi groaned, rubbed his temples, and sat back up. Tulong rushed over. Li Loi, are you back with us? Any permanent damage? Li Loi stretched out his arms, looking refreshed. Nothing hurts. In fact, my mind is so sharp I feel like I could calculate the stars. I won't need sleep for a week. Tulong let out a sigh of relief. It seems he survived the spiritual surge. The evolved fruits are safe. Let's take the plunge. A short while later, Ngui Tut Hoi finished synthesizing the remaining harvest and handed them out to the team. That's the lot. 1 for each of us, and we'll save the spares to fund our future. Down the hatch! The 4 of them consumed the star-shaped fruits simultaneously. Just like Li Loi, the other 3 immediately blacked out and hit the sand. Only the protagonist remained standing, looking perfectly fine. The protagonist looked around, bewildered. Is the kick really that strong? They all went down like a ton of bricks. Since the entire squad had the same reaction, it was clear that the protagonist was the outlier. Li Loi, waking up, asked, Brother Toe, how are you still conscious? The protagonist shrugged. Honestly, I was wondering the same thing. Li Loi pressed, Come on, how do you feel? The protagonist replied, It was actually quite tasty. My head is clear, and honestly, I feel like I could go for seconds. Li Loi immediately became the voice of reason. Brother Toe, a professional soul can usually only handle 1 blood god fruit. Forcing a second one might literally melt your brain. The protagonist looked at the pile of fruit, testing his own boundaries. It'll be fine. Remember, I'm classless. The rules don't apply to me. A few minutes passed, and he still felt no ill effects. It seems my lack of a class acts as a bottomless sink for this energy. If that's the case, I'm not stopping. 2 hours passed, and Nguitat Hoi finally had to intervene. To Tram? Seriously? Are you trying to set a record? You've already polished off 30 of the highest-grade fruits we have. The protagonist continued his feast. If it isn't killing me, I'm going to keep pushing until I reach the limit. I can feel my spirit undergoing a profound transformation with every bite. I need to see what's at the end of this path. Suddenly, a massive surge hit him, and the protagonist finally felt the overwhelming shift that his friends had experienced. However, his metamorphosis was truly a league of its own, shattering all expectations. Witnessing the phenomenon, Nguitat Hoi gasped in sheer disbelief. That's a mental tower! Duit tilted her head, confused. A mental tower? What on earth is that? Nguitat Hoi explained breathlessly. I've read ancient records stating these towers can bridge the gap to the Supreme Star Tower itself. Finding a professional who possesses one is rarer than encountering a 9-star legend. The protagonist groaned, clutching his temples as a sharp ache flared. Lai Loi rushed to his side. Brother To, what's happening? Talk to me! Far beyond the borders of the god's realm, Old Tan paced his study, muttering, Did this realm manifest just to cull human bloodlines? Why do I have this sinking feeling in my gut? His butler approached with a respectful bow. Welcome home, Old Tan. You look troubled. Old Tan scanned the quiet halls, sensing a void. The house is far too still. Where is my granddaughter? The butler hesitated before confessing, The young mistress has crossed the threshold into the god's realm, sir. Old Tan's face went pale with fury. What? I gave explicit orders that she was to stay as far away from that place as possible. The butler looked down awkwardly. She slipped out through the back. She was far too fast for us to intercept. Old Tan demanded, Who is Mew Mew with? Is she trailing after that Mo Dung Lu Liam girl again? The butler shook his head. Miss Mo Dung was away on academy business. The young mistress, she ventured in entirely alone. Old Tan slammed a fist into his palm. Alone? Her recklessness knows no bounds. Does she think this is a playground? It's a death trap. This isn't right. My intuition about this realm has been dark from the start. I need to reach out to the Supreme Star Tower immediately. At that very moment, the protagonist's mind was involuntarily syncing with the Supreme Star Tower. Lai Loi watched as the protagonist suddenly dropped into a silent, cross-legged trance. What's going on? He's totally checked out. Nguitat Hoi held up a hand. Don't touch him. The mental tower is a plane of existence far beyond our comprehension. It won't hurt him, it's evolving him. Tu Long, usually the team's walking encyclopedia, felt a rare sting of ignorance. A mental tower. That's a new one for me. Nguitat Hoi, where did you find information on something that obscure? Nguitat Hoi shrugged vaguely. Like I said, I just stumbled upon it in some old dusty tome. Tu Long's eyes narrowed with curiosity. Which one? I'd love to study it. Nguitat Hoi quickly pivoted. I can't recall the title. It was ages ago. The details are hazy. Lai Loi leaned toward Tu Long, whispering, Forgotten? Total lie. Our buddy Ngui is definitely keeping some cards close to his chest. In a dimension swirling with cosmic nebulae, a colossal structure floated amidst the stars. Dozens of glowing gates circled its base, and suddenly a brand-new portal flickered into existence. The protagonist, or rather his ethereal spirit, stepped through the shimmering gateway and into the vast expanse. He spun around, taking in the impossible view. Where have I ended up? Suddenly a magnificent throne materialized out of thin air behind him. He sat down, his mind racing with a million questions. Is this a manifestation of my own mind? Or has my soul been pulled into a different plane? All these gateways orbiting a central spire, the energy coming off it is staggering. Is this the fabled Supreme Star Tower? Those blood god fruits must have triggered some kind of spiritual awakening. I'm just not sure what the rules are here. Does every gate represent a master of this realm? I can't make head or tail of this right now. I'll have to return when I'm better prepared. Time to snap back to reality. The moment the protagonist's presence faded, Old Tan's consciousness projected into the same space. The Supreme Star Tower's processing power is infinite. Surely it can help me calculate the true threat of the god's realm. Suddenly he stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes bulging as he scanned the perimeter. Wait a minute, that can't be right. Am I losing my mind? 1, 2, 32. No, there are 33 gates now. The count has shifted, and the 13th throne has finally appeared. Who broke through the limits? Was it the Sakura Sector Emperor? The Desert Dharma King? Perhaps the wolf or snow gods? How could someone ascend without causing a cosmic disturbance? Even though the entities here were shrouded in shadows to protect their identities, the birth of a 13th throne was an earth-shattering anomaly. I'm not alone, someone's approaching. A new figure materialized, nodding toward Old Tan's shadow. What a surprise. It's not the scheduled time for a throne summit, yet here you are. Old Tan, keeping his identity hidden, gestured toward the new seat. Do you not see it? We have a 13th member among us now. The newcomer froze, their aura flickering in shock. What? A 13th throne? Impossible! Who could have possibly ascended? I haven't heard so much as a whisper of a new powerhouse reaching this level. The protagonist remained blissfully unaware that he had just been mistakenly categorized as a world-class legendary hermit. As he opened his eyes, Lai Loi jumped in. Brother Toe, you're back! How do you feel? You were glowing! The protagonist exhaled slowly. It was bizarre. It felt like I stepped into a world I wasn't supposed to see yet. Ngui Tut Hoi leaned in, his voice hushed and deadly serious. To Tram, listen to me. Do not breathe a word about that mental tower to anyone, not a soul. The protagonist blinked. Why the secrecy? Is it dangerous? Ngui Tut Hoi gripped his shoulder. Just trust me. Everyone in this squad needs to swear an oath of silence right now. If word gets out, it's over. Li Loi nudged Tu Long. See? Ngui is definitely hiding something big from the rest of us. Meanwhile, in another sector of the realm, Nguyen Tien's squad came to a halt. Is this the coordinate, the source of the signal? The pink-haired girl nodded. That's correct. The sensor indicates the divine frequency is peaking here. The fallen god is lurking just beyond this point. Nguyen Tien whispered under her breath with fierce resolve, Father, today I will finally settle the score for you. You two stay back. This is a burden I should carry alone. Her teammates countered in unison. Nguyen Tien, we aren't letting you face this solo. We go together. Nguyen Tien tried to change their minds. We are facing a deity. My father perished by his hand. Stepping inside is essentially a suicide mission. The young man stood his ground. General Long Tuong gave his life for the future of mankind. We carry the general's legacy just as much as you do. Nguyen Tien continued her attempt to convince her two loyal friends to stay safe. Then the pink-haired girl declared her conviction. Nguyen Tien, we do this for humanity. Everything for the sake of mankind. Nguyen Tien stopped resisting and sighed. Very well. For humanity, then. Let's head in together. She passed them several glowing spheres. These are stealth elixirs. They will mask our energy signatures so we can sneak up on the fallen god undetected. As he downed the pill, the young man asked, Nguyen Tien, realistically, what are our odds of actually toppling a god? Nguyen Tien answered, Before he passed, my father left me a divine relic specifically designed to kill the fallen god. If I can get within striking distance, I'm 80% sure of victory. The young man proposed, Nguyen Tien, why not reveal the relic now? We could refine our strategy and ensure there are no gaps in the plan. Nguyen Tien shook her head. I can't expose it yet, or the fallen god will detect its presence instantly. But trust me, this is what my father traded his soul for. If I get close, he is finished. The young woman noted with reverence. General Long Tuong was a true protector of our species, sacrificing himself to secure the one weapon that can end a god. The young man echoed the sentiment. The general was truly the shield of humanity, giving everything to ensure we had a fighting chance against the fallen god. The young woman added, He is the only commander I truly admire. He was a champion for the people, unlike the self-serving elites who only care for themselves. Nguyen Tien's expression darkened in agreement. As for those who think they are royalty, ever since General Long Tuong fell, the voice of the commoners has been silenced. I fear our place in the alliance is vanishing. The elite faction has monopolized every ounce of power. Meanwhile, the protagonist's squad had left the arid wasteland behind and entered a starkly different landscape. Lai Loi tilted his head at the sign. Dragon Valley? That's a heavy name. Do you think there's an actual dragon hiding in there? Tulong shook her head skeptically. Doubtful. Alliance archives state that true dragons are the apex of existence and haven't been sighted in centuries. A blood-curdling shriek suddenly ripped through the air from deep within the gorge. Duyet shuddered. What on earth was that? The sound alone is haunting. Eloy speculated. With a roar that powerful, maybe the legends are true. Could it be a dragon? Suddenly, a crowd of people burst from the mouth of the valley, running for their lives. Among the panicked survivors, a familiar face appeared in the chaos. It was Don Tin Tin. The fleeing students screamed to one another, "Watch out! Don't look back! It's right on our heels! Keep running!" One unfortunate soul tripped, and a beetle the size of a human skull latched onto them. In seconds, they were covered and being devoured. A young man tried to make a stand, roaring, "Vajra armor, activate! Come and get it! My Vajra defense is impenetrable! These bugs can't touch me!" But it didn't take long for him to realize he had made a fatal miscalculation. The sound of frantic buzzing filled the air. "Wait, why is my shield cracking? Get them off me! Help, stay away from me!" The warrior was swallowed by a living carpet of insects. His chances of survival were 0. Leloy was horrified. What kind of nightmare bugs are those? They just chewed through a defensive specialist's armor like it was paper. Ngui Tat Hoi clarified, "Those are dragon lice." It was the first time Leloy had even heard of such a terrifying creature. Tulong, the team's resident expert, added, "Legend says dragon lice are parasites that live off dragon beasts. If you find the lice, a dragon beast is never far away." Ngui Tat Hoi's eyes lit up with excitement. "So the rumors were true? There really is a dragon in this valley?" Duyet interrupted the thought with a shout. "The swarm is heading our way. Move! Fall back now." Doan Ting Ting was stumbling, the insects closing the gap between them. Fortunately, a familiar voice called out, allowing her to be pulled to safety just in time. The protagonist waved frantically, "Don Tin Tin! This way! Get over here!" Doan Ting Ting didn't hesitate, leaping toward the protagonist's group for protection. A few moments later, as they reached a specific boundary, the swarm of dragon lice abruptly stopped as if hitting a wall. "We're clear for now. It looks like those things won't cross the canyon line." Doan Ting Ting panted heavily. "To Tram, I owe you my life. Thank you." The protagonist asked eagerly, "Sister Doan, is it true? Is there really a dragon living in that valley?" Doan Ting Ting looked back at the shadows. "I can't say for sure. I haven't used the dragon saliva grass yet to lure it out. I won't know 100% until I see it, but the signs are all there. After all this searching, we finally have a concrete lead." The protagonist inquired about the valley's interior and the level of risk. Don Tin Tin cautioned him, "It's a death trap. The sheer volume of dragon lice is staggering. What we saw earlier was just a tiny fraction of the swarm." It appears the lure of dragons is an irresistible siren song. Despite the mounting body count, the crowd only grows larger. "I heard a dragon beast is nesting here. Is it for real? A mature dragon beast is an absolute god of war. Taming one is a direct ticket to immortality." Leloy observed that a massive horde of treasure seekers had already converged on the site. Ngui Tat Hoi sighed knowingly. Once the scent of a dragon beast hits the air, everyone loses their minds. This truly is a once-in-a-blue-moon chance to reach the pinnacle of power. Suddenly, shimmering streamers of flame streaked through the sky. "What's the deal? Why is the temperature spiking? The air feels like a furnace all of a sudden." "Look up! A high-level fire element master has made an entrance!" The newcomer was none other than Hong Qiu. Doan Ting Ting whispered a warning. That's the fire element battle mage, a top-tier prodigy among the elite families at Tian Kin Academy. Given her academy status and the Hong surname, she's clearly related to the eunuch Hong, who was acting as a vanguard. "Clear the path. We are the pride of Tian Kin Academy. A divine creature like a dragon beast isn't meant for bottom feeders like you." Hong Qiu scanned the stalled crowd and demanded, "Why is everyone idling at the mouth of the valley?" The students stammered back. "Sister Hong, the gorge is choked with dragon lice. We can't punch through. We've already lost several seasoned professionals to the swarm." Hong Qiu unleashed a devastating wave of fire. With a flick of her wrist, she incinerated the clusters of dragon lice blocking the entrance. Incredible. Hong Qiu is on a whole different level. Standard mage attacks are potent, but her fire magic is pure destruction. The Hong lackey spotted a face in the crowd and barked, "To tram, you mangy dog! I can't believe I'm running into your ugly face again!" The protagonist offered a mocking wave. "Well, if it isn't Eunuch Hong, long time no see." Eunuch Hong shrieked with fury. "To tram! You had the audacity to ruin my manhood! Today, I'm going to paint the walls with your brains." He immediately turned to Hong Qiu to vent his rage. "Cousin, he's the one who turned me into a half-man. Execute him!" Hong Qiu looked down from her elevated position. She asked with cold formality, "So you're the infamous Two-Tram?" The protagonist nodded. "Guilty as charged." Hong Qiu sneered with pure arrogance. "You exude a vibe that I find utterly repulsive. I've taken an instant dislike to you." The protagonist shot back with a deadpan expression. "That sounds like a personal problem. I'm generally considered quite charming, so maybe you should look in a mirror to find the source of your grumpiness." Hong Qiu was momentarily stunned, her tongue tied by the lack of a witty comeback. Eunuch Hong spat, "You arrogant brat! Your ego is bigger than the valley. Who do you think you're talking to? You think someone like you is even worthy of my cousin's attention?" Hong Qiu found her voice again, curling her lip. "Mo Dong Lu Liam's decision to date you is a permanent blot on her reputation." The protagonist countered effortlessly, "You're overthinking things. I wouldn't even rank you as a candidate for a girlfriend." Hong Qiu's face flushed with awkwardness and rage. "Today I'll do her a favor and scrub that stain away forever." Watching her lose her cool, the protagonist simply labeled her a total psycho. Just as Hong Qiu prepared to incinerate the protagonist, a massive disturbance shook the canyon. The very foundations of the earth trembled. "What's happening? The whole valley is vibrating." A colossal scaled appendage whipped up from the depths, causing the youths to scream, "Merciful heavens, what is that monster?" What else could it be? A tail that size belongs to a dragon. The legend is true. There's a dragon beast in this pit. The massive tail lashed once before retreating back into the subterranean darkness. "The dragon tail vanished. I get it now. This is the earth dragon's slumber. The beast is deep in a trance." Eunuch Hong yelled excitedly, "Cousin, the beast is out cold. This is our golden ticket to taming it." Hong Qiu prioritized the prize over her grudge. She signaled her cousin, "Forget him for now. We're going in." Before dashing off, Eunuch Hong threw a final threat back at the protagonist. "I'm warning you. If you try to tail us, my cousin will turn you into charcoal." The protagonist shrugged. "Relax, I have no intention of going in there." Eunuch Hong mistook this for cowardice and smirked. "Good. At least you know your place." Hong Qiu unleashed her signature spell, Earth, Fire, Heaven, Burn. From her aerial vantage point, she rained down pillars of flame to vaporize the lice blocking the main path. Eunuch Hong waved his sword and shouted, "Follow the Hong family, charge!" A flock of ambitious youths followed in the wake of the Hong cousins. With a high-level fire mage leading the charge, they felt the insects were no longer a threat. Li Loi asked impatiently, "Brother To, are we really just going to sit this one out?" The protagonist replied calmly, "What's the hurry? Sister Doan said the swarm inside is a nightmare. Let the idiots go in first and clear the path as human shields." As predicted, it was no easy victory. Even with a fire mage's protection, agonizing screams soon echoed from the canyon. The dragon lice swarm was so thick it looked like a literal sandstorm. They flooded through every crevice and corner with terrifying speed. Once again, a massive wave of fortune hunters was wiped out in an instant. Realizing the tide had turned, Hong Qiu grabbed her cousin and used her flight to escape the carnage. Eunuch Hong panted, finally understanding the horror of the valley. "Unbelievable! The dragon lice are piled up like mountains in there. We could never kill them all." Duit watched the empty entrance with wide eyes. That was horrific. Over 100 elite professionals charged in, and only 2 came back out. Eunuch Hong turned to his cousin, bewildered. "What's our next move?" Hong Qiu sighed. "Getting close to that dragon beast is a lost cause right now. The sheer swarm of dragon lice is a physical wall we can't breach. Our only hope is to track down Min Nyut Tien Tun." Eunuch Hong looked hesitant. "Min Nyut Tien Tun definitely has the firepower to tear through this. But why would a man like him agree to play ball with us?" Hong Qiu took to the skies, her voice trailing back. "Because when a dragon beast is the prize, greed silences all questions." As soon as the Hong duo vanished, the protagonist smirked. All right, squad, it's our time to shine. Let's head in. Doan Ting Ting hesitated, seeing the sea of insects. To Tram, that swarm hasn't thinned out at all. Charging in now feels like a suicide mission, doesn't it? The protagonist turned to his senior with a plan. Can that dragon saliva grass actually pull the beast out of its hole? Doan Tin Tin shook her head. The aroma of dragon saliva grass is subtle. It won't travel far enough to reach the beast from this distance, I'm afraid. The protagonist's eyes narrowed as he ran the numbers. If the big guy won't come to us, we'll just have to give the bugs a reason to leave. Doan Ting Ting looked skeptical. Baiting the lice away? That's unheard of. They are biologically tethered to the dragon beast. They never abandon this gorge. The protagonist gestured toward Lai Loi with a grin. Trust me, to those bugs, he's a much tastier snack than any dragon could ever be. Moments later, Lai Loi came sprinting out of the shadows with a literal mountain of skittering lice on his heels. Sweet mother of mercy! There are way too many, they're everywhere! Brother Toad, do something before I'm eaten! The protagonist signaled, Ignite! With a surge of energy, the protagonist manifested a majestic, winged fire beast to swoop down for Lai Loi. Lai Loi didn't waste a second, leaping onto the flaming creature's back as it took flight. Safe in the air, Lai Loi began mocking the swarm below. Hey, look at me! This grandpa's got wings! Better luck next time, you overgrown cockroaches! Doan Ting Ting watched in total awe. The entire canyon is emptying out. The lice are actually following him. I've never witnessed a distraction like this. The protagonist didn't miss a beat. This is our window. Move in and find that dragon beast before the bugs realize they've been played. A short trek later, the heart of the valley opened up into a desolate expanse of jagged rock and ancient dust. Duit shivered, her senses tingling. He's here. I can feel a massive, overwhelming presence just ahead. Wee Tut Hoi pointed toward a silhouette in the distance. Look at the size of that thing! It's gargantuan! There, in the center of the clearing, lay a truly magnificent dragon beast. It's breathtaking, seeing it in the flesh. It's easy to believe the stories of its invincibility. It's fast asleep, yet the raw pressure of its aura makes it hard to breathe. Knowing this was her calling, the protagonist asked, Senior, as a dragon knight, do you honestly think you can tame a titan like this? Doan Ting Tin's voice wavered slightly. I honestly don't know. The reality of a dragon beast is far more terrifying than the legends. But opportunities like this only come once in a lifetime. I'm not backing down now. Wait, look near the beast's claws. Do you see those shimmering crystalline shards? Wee Tut Hoi leaned in, his eyes wide. Those aren't just crystals. Could they be those legendary, ultra-rare skill upgrade stones? Duit's face lit up. They look exactly like the descriptions. If those are real, we've just stumbled onto a literal gold mine. Wee Tut Hoi nodded fervently. Better than gold. One of those stones could boost our combat effectiveness by several tiers in an instant. Tu Long adjusted her gear. Only one way to find out. I'll snag one and check. With feline grace, she darted forward and retrieved a stone. Sprinting back to the group, she held it up for inspection. It's official. These are genuine skill upgrade stones. Wee Tut Hoi gasped. Unbelievable. This haul is just as valuable as the blood god fruits. Actually, in terms of raw utility, these stones are in a league of their own. Doan Ting Ting realized the situation. It all makes sense now. The dragon beast isn't just sleeping here. It's nesting on these stones to protect them. These are the ultimate prize for any professional. For many, a guaranteed skill boost is even more enticing than the beast itself. Tu Long, being the quickest and most sure-footed, volunteered for the heist. Stay back. I'll move in and gather the rest of the stones. The protagonist gave a stern warning. Watch your step. If that dragon wakes up, we're all toast. Meanwhile, back in the ethereal realm of the Star Tower, Old Tan paced anxiously. Supreme Star Tower, run the simulations. I need to know exactly when this fallen god realm will collapse. The tower's voice echoed back, cold and mechanical. Computational resources insufficient. Operation aborted. A nearby observer gasped. What? Insufficient? That almost never happens with the tower's hardware. This proves the fallen god realm is far more complex than your dragon sector anticipated. Even the Supreme Star Tower is hitting a wall trying to decode it. Old Tan gritted his teeth and initiated a high-priority override. But the result was the same. Computational resources insufficient. Unable to process request. Old Tan sighed in frustration. Still nothing? I've already diverted every resource I have into the tower's core. Fourth Throne, I'm calling in a favor. I need your processing power to break this stalemate. The figure on the Fourth Throne remained calm. Very well, Ninth Throne, but mark my words, this favor won't come cheap. Resource sync complete. Commencing deep layer calculations now. This time, the Star Tower's feedback shifted. The exit window for the Fallen God realm is mathematically unreachable. Shifting to deduction mode. The Supreme Star Tower rarely resorts to this protocol. Its activation usually signals a looming extinction-level event for mankind. It appears this specific manifestation of the realm is far more tangled and chaotic than anticipated. The Star Tower delivered its verdict. Deduction finalized. Result: the Fallen God realm has no expiration. It will not vanish. This revelation sent shockwaves through both of the seated thrones. One of the figures demanded, "Supreme Star Tower, clarify the term will not disappear. What are the implications?" The tower explained, "This is the 5th time this particular realm has intersected with human space. Its architect is the fallen god himself, over 5 distinct cycles of devouring vast quantities of human life and spiritual essence. His celestial form has been reconstructed. With this arrival, he intends to establish total dominion over the mortal plane, triggering a disaster of unimaginable proportions." The Fourth Throne was paralyzed with shock. What? A literal fallen god ruling over our world? Old Tan squeezed his fists until his knuckles turned white. Curse it all! I knew there was something sinister about this cycle, but I never dreamed the stakes were this high. The Star Tower continued. Entities like wild gods and fallen gods possess physical masses too immense for direct entry into our world. However, the fallen god's body was shattered centuries ago. He condensed himself into this realm to infiltrate human space. By feasting on the vitality of human champions over the ages, his divine shell is now whole, making him the first true deity of the god race to set foot on Earth. Old Tan's anxiety peaked. Damn it! The masses still treat the fallen god realm like a lottery for power. They think the sacrifice of a few thousand is worth the birth of a few elite heroes. They have no idea they've been fattening a wolf for the slaughter. Those 5 cycles did create powerhouses, but that was exactly the plan. The more powerful the meat, the faster he heals. Now he's fully manifested. We are in deep trouble. The Fourth Throne spoke up. Regardless of your faction or origin, I am formally requesting your aid. Help the Dragon Sector neutralize the fallen god. I have to mobilize my council immediately. This isn't just a regional border dispute anymore. It's a fight for the survival of the human species. I hope everyone can bury their grudges and see the cliff we are standing on. The Fourth Throne gave a curt nod. Understood. We stand with you. Old Tan was consumed by a burning dread. Miu Miu is trapped in the center of that storm. If he's waking up, she's in his crosshairs. I'm terrified for her. At that very moment, Nguyet Tin and her 2 companions were closer to the epicenter of the fallen god's presence than any other living soul. The young man whispered, his voice trembling, "The atmosphere is heavy. I can feel the weight of his divine aura crushing the air around us." Nguyet Tin warned them in a low hiss. "Stay focused. My father's notes said the fallen god uses this space as a nursery for his wounds. If we wake him prematurely, we're as good as dead." Stealthily, the trio reached the inner sanctum where the deity lay in a state of suspended animation. The young woman's teeth chattered. Is that him? Is that the fallen god? My body won't stop shaking. The primal fear is overwhelming. The young man urged, "Nguyet Tin, do it now! This pressure is suffocating. I can't hold my position much longer." Nguyet Tin unsheathed the legendary Godslayer blade. He's still deep in his slumber. This is the moment he dies. "Father, watch me. Today your daughter brings you justice." But as she lunged forward, a cold blade pierced through her back and out her chest. The color drained from her face instantly. She forced herself to turn, only to see the twisted, grinning face of the young man she called a friend. Nguyet Tin gasped for air, her voice a broken whisper. "Fendo, why? How could you?" The young woman screamed in horror. "Fando, have you lost your mind? What have you done?" Fando snatched the god-slaying relic from Nguyet Thien's failing grip and sneered. "A commoner like you actually thought you could touch a deity. Pathetic. The Great One is beyond your comprehension. I have served the fallen god cult in secret for years. I don't belong to humanity. I belong to my master. I am his instrument." The fallen god's eyes fluttered open, his gaze landing on the traitor. "Excellently executed, my little worm." The young woman's grief turned to rage. "A cultist! You traitorous filth! I'll kill you!" She charged, but the fallen god merely flicked a finger. Spectral chains erupted from the shadows, lashing around her limbs and binding her tight. She was hoisted into the air, suspended like a trophy in the divine aura. Struggling against the iron-tight grip, she cried out one last time, "Nguyet Thien, save yourself! Run!" The fallen god slowly closed his fist in a crushing gesture. The air was filled with a gruesome pop as the girl was pulverized instantly. A mist of crimson life force drifted toward the deity, absorbed into his skin like parched earth taking in rain. Simply divine. Even after thousands of years and tens of thousands of souls, the flavor of a human champion's essence is still my favorite addiction. Nguyet Thien spat blood, her eyes burning with hatred. You absolute monster!" The fallen god tilted his head, studying her with amused curiosity. "Ah, the spawn of Vuong Long Tuong. He was a formidable ant, but an ant nonetheless. Do you wish to kneel and serve or follow him into the void?" Nguyet Thien snarled, "I'd rather burn in hell. You butchered my father. I'll see you dead if it's the last thing I do." The fallen god chuckled, a sound like grinding stone. "Oh, little one, you're mistaken. I may have struck the final blow, but your father was truly betrayed and served to me by your own kind." Nguyet Thien froze, her heart skipping a beat. Betrayed? By his own people? What lies are you spewing? Pledge your soul to me, and I will reveal the dirty secrets of your human leaders. I require loyal hounds to help me herd the cattle in this new world. Fando threw himself to the floor, groveling. "Master, I am your most devoted dog. Let me lead your armies." The fallen god looked down with disdain and shook his head. "A creature that betrays its own blood has no concept of loyalty. You are a tool, nothing more." Fando's face fell. He hadn't expected to be treated with such utter contempt by his idol. Nguyet Thien let out a weak, bitter laugh. "There it is, the typical reward for a traitor. You're hated by the humans you left and despised by the god you worship." The fallen god's gaze remained locked on Nguyet Thien. "Enough talk. Make your choice. Submission or a cold grave." Nguyet Thien spat back. "You want me to surrender? Fine, but only if you execute this turncoat first. I despise traitors above all else." Trembling with cowardice and a desperate fear of death, Fando whimpered, "Great One, please ignore her lies. I am your most devoted believer, your eternal servant." In a blur of motion, the fallen god seized Nguyet Thien by the throat, hoisting her up. "You are in no position to negotiate. Give me your oath, or I will extinguish your life." In a final act of defiance, Nguyet Thien sprayed a mouthful of blood directly into the fallen god's face. Surprisingly, the fallen god felt a flicker of admiration for her iron will. "Intriguing. I've just thought of a game far more amusing than a simple execution." The fallen god extended a dark shadow, piercing deep into Nguyet Thien's chest. "You loathe traitors, don't you? Then I shall warp your flesh into that of a demonic beast. I will twist you into the very monster you hunt. I will make you the most reviled creature in the eyes of humanity. I want to see you crawl before them. When they hunt you like prey, will you still have room to hate me?" Fando spoke up in a shaky voice. "My lord, look. This is the weapon Vuong Long Tuong left behind specifically to destroy you." The fallen god's eyes narrowed in genuine surprise. "The Oblivion Heavenly Thunder? I never expected a mortal to harness such pure lethal intent. This could actually leave a scar." Fando held out the relic with trembling hands. "Such a threat should be in your hands, Master, to ensure no one else can use it against you." But the wicked deity let out a dark chuckle. "If I take it, the drama ends. No, you shall keep this Oblivion Heavenly Thunder." Fando blinked, confused. What, I get to keep it? The fallen god sneered. Precisely. Carry this back to the human elite. Turn their own weapon against them. Let them choke on the power of their own invention. Wouldn't that be exquisite? Fando immediately began groveling. Pure genius, my lord. I will return and use this thunder to wipe out a 9-star powerhouse in your glorious name. The fallen god scoffed at his lack of ambition. 9-star experts are nothing but insects. If you strike, aim for the thunder god, the snow god, the true titans, and those 12 mysterious human thrones. Fando bowed his head to the floor. Understood. I will not fail your divine mission. Understanding the art of manipulation, the fallen god followed his threats with a dark gift for his follower. Fando shivered with delight as a dark aura washed over him. This power! I can feel my strength surging to new heights. The fallen god stated, That is the death aura I've bestowed upon you. It grants you a form of immortality, a fitting reward for your spineless loyalty. Fando prostrated himself once more. My gratitude is eternal, fallen god. Long live the master of the realm. Back at the clearing, Tu Long signaled the group. The harvest is complete. Every skill upgrade stone has been secured. Hoi urged them on. Hurry up and use them. I can only imagine the kind of raw power we'll wield after these upgrades. Do it suddenly stiffened, her voice a sharp whisper. Wait, do you hear that? It's too quiet. Why is it so quiet? Doan Ting Ting's heart skipped a beat as she realized the truth. The dragon beast's snoring, it stopped. And the silence was short-lived, for the behemoth was no longer lost in its dreams. Cold sweat poured down Hoi's face. Hell, the big guy is wide awake. The dragon unleashed a thunderous roar that shook the very foundation of the valley. The sheer force of the sound wave sent the group tumbling backward in a daze. That's insane. A single roar and we're tossed around like ragdolls. What's the call? Do we stand our ground or run for it? Tu Long lunged forward to test its defenses, but was swiped aside like a gnat by a single massive claw. Hoi gasped. The power gap is a canyon. We can't go toe-to-toe with this thing. It's physically impossible. Tu Long scrambled back up, shouting, Retreat! This creature's strength is far beyond our level of understanding. Duit was paralyzed with fright. I knew it was an apex predator, but this is a living nightmare. As the dragon loomed over them, closing the distance with terrifying speed. The protagonist initiated a desperate donkey roll maneuver to gain some ground. He gave the command, and his herd of fire-breathing donkeys charged the beast in a chaotic frenzy. However, the dragon barely paused, crushing the entire herd under a single massive foot. For the first time, the protagonist felt true desperation. Damn it, even the donkeys were snuffed out instantly. Is there really no opening to exploit? Hoi's face turned ashen. We're trapped. We have 0 tools to restrain a dragon beast. I'm not sure we're walking out of here today. Doan Ting Ting stepped in front of the group. Go! Run while you can. I'll stay behind and hold its attention. The protagonist grabbed her arm. That's suicide, Senior. We leave together or not at all. But Doan Tin Tin pulled away, her eyes resolved. If we stay together, we all die. Move! I'll try one last time to tame it. If this is my end, at least I died pursuing my dream. Just as the situation turned hopeless, the roar of engines filled the air as Min Nyat Thien Tan and the Hong cousins arrived. Doan Ting Ting looked up in disbelief. The Void Mothership, Min Nyat Thien Tang, has actually joined the fray! Eunuch Hong bellowed from the deck. To Tram, you lowlife! You actually thought you could poach our dragon beast? Seeing the reinforcements, the protagonist felt a wave of relief. These arrogant idiots, they really do have impeccable timing, don't they? Hong Qiu stood at the bow, her voice booming with authority. All you amateurs, clear out! This prize belongs to the elite! The protagonist nudged her. Senior, it's time to move. Let these idiots have their dance with the dragon beast. Doan Ting Ting lingered, her gaze fixed on the creature with visible hesitation. Sensing her reluctancy, the protagonist spoke up firmly. Do you honestly think a dragon is a pushover? Even someone like Min Nyat Thien Then is going to find out the hard way that he's out of his league. We'll find another chance later. For now, let's choose life. Finally, Doan Tin Ting relented. You're right, I'll follow your lead. Min Nyat Thien Tang barked with overbearing arrogance. Listen up, you bottom feeders. This dragon beast is far beyond your station. You have 10 seconds to vanish or I'll clear you out myself. The protagonist played along, shouting for everyone to hear, "Retreat! We're too weak to compete for a prize like this. It's all yours, big shot." Ngui Tut Hoi gritted his teeth, clearly loathing the man. "Think you're a big deal, don't you, Min Nyut Tien Tang? Just you wait. I'll settle this score eventually." The dragon suddenly let out a deafening roar. Min Nyut Tien Tang sneered. "So that's the famous two-tram? One look at me and he scurries away like a frightened rat. I have no idea what Mo Dung Lu Liem sees in a coward like that. Once I break this dragon beast to my will, I'll be the only man worthy of standing by her side. I know you're clever enough to understand me, beast. I am your master now. Kneel and submit." The dragon responded by lashing its massive tail across the face of the brat who dared command it. Min Nyut Tien Tang was sent tumbling face first into the dirt, his dignity shattered instantly. The Hong cousins stared in disbelief. They hadn't expected their ace to be floored so casually. Hong Qiu leaped into the air, desperate to reclaim the momentum. "Behold the world-extinguishing fireball!" But the dragon simply opened its maw, answering her spell with its own inferno. As it turns out, the dragon's mastery of fire was on a completely different level. Compared to the dragon's titanic blast, Hong Qiu's flames looked like a flickering candle. This is impossible," she gasped. Before she could finish her thought, the backlash of the dragon's breath sent her spiraling through the air. Eunuch Hong finally grasped the gravity of the situation. "Damn it. 2 of our academy's top 5 elites just got swatted like flies. How are we supposed to fight a god? Tram knew exactly what was coming. That brat played us for fools." Min Nyut Tien Tang pulled himself up, forcing a cocky laugh to mask his shame. "The more bite you have, the more I enjoy the hunt. Void mothership, all batteries, maximum concentrated fire." If only this guy could check his massive ego for 1 second. He might actually realize he's in over his head. Don Ting Ting glanced back at the chaos. "Word is a single volley from a void mothership can vaporize a mountain. At full power, it can crush a 9-star powerhouse, assuming they're dumb enough to stand still." Min Nyut Tien Tang is the poster child for great talent wasted on a small mind. People cheer for his raw power now, but his long-term survival is anyone's guess. A barrage of heavy-duty ballistic missiles roared from the launch bays of the warship. They slammed into the dragon in a relentless, explosive sequence. Eunuch Hong cheered, basking in the reflected glory. "That's what I'm talking about. One of our academy's big 3 in action. Who could possibly survive a pummeling like that?" Hong Qiu managed to weave through the smoke and scramble back onto the ship. Thank the gods for the mothership's firepower, otherwise we'd be cinders by now. Min Nyut Tien Tang stood on the deck, drunk on his own perceived power. "I don't care how legendary you are. Under my heel you will learn who truly reigns supreme." Watching from afar, Ngui Tut Hoi winced at the spectacle. What a blowhard. I'd give anything to see someone knock him down a peg. Min Nyut Tien Tang shouted downward, "Well, dragon beast, had enough? Bow your head and serve as my vanguard on the abyss battlefield." As if a king of the sky would ever bow to a gnat. Min Nyut Tien Tang's jaw dropped when the smoke cleared. The missile strike that could level a city hadn't even scratched the dragon's scales. The dragon lunged forward, its massive jaws snapping toward the loud-mouthed human. The Hong siblings stood paralyzed, chilled to the bone by the beast's sudden speed. Duyet couldn't help but quip, "I guess acting cool carries a very high death tax." Min Nyut Tien Tang found himself dangling from the dragon's teeth, screaming for mercy. Hong Qiu tried to intervene with a desperate spell. "We have to break him free, now!" But the dragon swatted her fire projectiles away with a casual flick of its tail. "That was my ultimate technique," she whispered in horror, and it didn't even make the beast flinch. In the end, Min Nyut Tien Tang's arrogance met its final conclusion as the dragon swallowed him whole. Meanwhile, deep in the shadows, Ngui Tien's body continued to warp and shift under the fallen god's dark influence. The fallen god watched with a predatory smile. Exquisite. My masterpiece is coming along perfectly. Suddenly, the thunderous roar of the dragon echoed through the chamber. "Humph, my personal war beast has finally stirred. Do humans truly still believe they can tame my mount? The audacity is almost funny. Let's go see the entertainment," he mused, vanishing in a swirl of dark energy. Eunuch Hong stammered, his face pale as a ghost. "Cousin, he's gone. Min Nyut Tien Tang. He was just a snack." The reality of their situation finally hit Hong Qiu. We're done for. This isn't a hunt. It's a slaughterhouse. Suddenly, the dragon beast shuddered and expelled a massive obsidian orb from its rear. The Hong siblings stared in disbelief. What on earth is that? Did that monster just lay an egg? To everyone's surprise, Minyat Teen Tung emerged completely unharmed from that bizarre metallic sphere. Eunuch Hong gasped. It's him! Minyat Teen Tung is alive! Hong Qiu didn't filter her thoughts, shouting, Minyat Teen Tung! How did you survive being pooped out by a dragon? Why did it just dump you out like that? Minyat Teen Tung dusted himself off. It's an emergency escape maneuver. This iron sphere is a divine defensive artifact gifted by the Dean. It provides absolute protection during a crisis. Eunuch Hong, trying to flatter him but failing miserably, said, Incredible! You're so tough even a dragon beast couldn't digest you and had to spit you out the back. Minyat Teen Tung glared at him, radiating killing intent. Keep your mouth shut about this or you'll find out how ruthless I can be. Eunuch Hong stammered, Don't worry, my cousin and I won't say a word. Eunuch Hong, looking to shift the focus and eliminate his enemies, pointed at the protagonist's squad. But we can't be so sure about those people over there. Minyat Teen Tung followed his gaze and leapt toward them. Them? That's an easy fix. We'll just silence them forever. Ngui Tut Hoi couldn't help but smirk. I knew those Academy elites had hidden tricks, but surviving by being excreted is a new one for me. Duit shouted a warning. Heads up! They're coming straight for us! Minyat Teen Tung landed and sneered. Gouge out your own eyes and tear out your tongues, and I might consider letting you live. But just as he began his power trip, Karma arrived. The fallen god manifested before him and asked coldly, Are you the little insect trying to steal my war mount? Minyat Teen Tung, blinded by his own ego, barked, Who is this freak? Get lost! As he reached out to push, the fallen god caught his arm, and with a casual flick of his wrist, he ripped the entire arm clean off. The agony finally cleared Minyat Teen Tung's head, leaving him screaming in the dirt. Ngui Tut Hoi narrowed his eyes. This newcomer is on a different level. Duyet, trembling violently, added, It's far worse than different. The protagonist asked her, Duyet, what do you sense? Duyet's knees buckled as she gasped for air. Infinite darkness. A void of pure fear is pouring out of him. It's paralyzing. We don't stand a chance. Her legs gave way under the weight of the crushing, bottomless despair radiating from his presence. It was a soul-chilling terror that made any thought of resistance impossible. He is the ultimate power here, far more dangerous than even the dragon beast. Ngui Tut Hoi voiced the grim realization. Stronger than a dragon and carrying an aura that freezes the soul. In this realm, there is only one being that fits that description. Tu Long whispered the name, the fallen god. I've read that this entire realm was created from his very essence. Doan Ting Ting shook her head in denial. But how? A deity of that magnitude shouldn't be able to manifest a physical form in our world. It defies every law of magic. Hong Qiu stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Are you truly a god? The fallen god turned to her with an eerie, mock politeness. Tell me, little mage, is it your intention to try and kill me? Hong Qiu turned tail to bolt. Not at all, I want no part of this. The fallen god replied with chilling serenity, That is unfortunate, because I very much intend to kill you. With a mere thought, he exerted a localized gravity well that slammed Hong Qiu face first into the hard earth. Eunuch Hong watched in sheer terror as the ground cracked. Is this the crushing weight of divinity? The fallen god merely glanced in his direction. Eunuch Hong immediately wet his pants, falling to his knees and wailing for mercy. The fallen god looked at him with profound boredom, not even considering him worth the effort to execute. You are less than nothing. The fallen god raised a hand toward the massive creature. To my side, beast! The dragon, recognizing its true master, instantly flew over and lowered its head in submission. Standing atop the dragon's skull like a dark king, the fallen god proclaimed, Behold, today marks the beginning of the end for the human race. Doan Ting Ting slumped in despair. He's fully manifested. A literal apocalypse is standing right in front of us. Meanwhile, beyond the boundaries of the realm, Hoak Khan grunted, Old Tan, Did you drag us all out here just to spout these tall tales? Old Tan's face was grim. Every word is the absolute truth. A god has entered our world. If I weren't certain, I wouldn't have sounded the alarm. Old Lady Mew scoffed, unconvinced. Have you finally lost your wits? A god's true power is far too volatile to exist on this plane without tearing it apart. But Old Tan countered, usually, yes, but remember the rumors of the god who suffered a grievous wound to his divine core eons ago? He turned himself into this fallen god realm to hide among us, using centuries of human sacrifices as fuel to mend his spirit. We have to act before the seal is gone. Hwa Kan shook his head. Stories and legends, you have zero proof to back this up. Desperate to be heard, Old Tan decided to drop the veil. Fine, no more games. I am the 9th throne of the 13 supreme thrones. The 3 pillars laughed mockingly. Give it a rest, Tan. Everyone knows there are only 12 thrones governing humanity. Where did you find a 13th? If you're going to lie, make it a good one. Old Tan knew words were useless against their stubbornness. He channeled his inner power, manifesting his star tower. The 12 seats were the old order. A new power has recently ascended. The trio gasped, their eyes bulging. A mental tower! You really are one of the legendary thrones, Old Tan said sternly. Now do you believe me? We must prevent that god from reaching full strength before the world burns. Hwa Kan, gripped by a cowardly instinct, tried to find another excuse to hide. So you have a seat at the table. That still doesn't mean your wild theory about a descending god is correct. Old Lady Mew sided with Hwa Kan, mocking him. Old Tan, we all know your granddaughter is trapped in there. Are you spinning these tall tales just because you're panicked about her safety? Old Tan's frustration boiled over as he spat. You lot are a bunch of short-sighted fools. Absolute utter idiots. Hwa Kan's temper flared instantly. You have the nerve to insult us? Dealing with this stubborn crowd was becoming physically exhausting. Old Tan snapped, Fine! This old man will handle this personally. I don't need a single one of you. He channeled his power, managing to force a jagged fissure into the shimmering barrier of the fallen god realm. The gateway can be breached. There is still a narrow window of opportunity. From within the realm, the fallen god sensed the disturbance. It appears the powerhouses of the mortal world have caught on. They are attempting to bash their way in to halt my ascension. The fallen god commanded his dragon, Go and blockade the entrance. I require just a few more moments to mend my divine essence completely. The dragon let out a low rumble of obedience and soared toward the pulsating rift of the secret dimension. On the outside, Old Tan manifested a massive glowing battle axe in his grip. Break for me, he roared, swinging the weapon in a devastating arc. The 3 pillars watched in awe, finally realizing that Old Tan was a great axe warrior, one of the most destructive combat classes in existence. Hwa Kan felt a sting of envy, but remained powerless. Not only does he hold a seat on the 12 thrones, but he's also a great axe warrior. Old Tan has been masking his true lethality all this time. That singular earth-shattering blow slammed directly into the gate of the hidden realm. The barrier groaned, on the verge of shattering, or at least that was the hope. But the laws of a god's domain were not so easily defied. Curse it! The spatial rift is knitting itself back together. At that critical moment, the Alliance leader materialized among the group. He commanded with an air of absolute authority, All of you synchronize your power and strike as one. Hwa Kan remained skeptical. Should we really be putting our faith in his theory? The Alliance leader didn't wait for a consensus. He led the charge, unleashing a blinding surge of energy. Seeing the leader act, the others were forced to join in, if only to save face and protect their reputations. With the collective might of the 5 of us, we should be able to dismantle the entrance to the god realm. Yet even with their combined spiritual pressure hammering the gate, the barrier refused to yield. What's happening? Something is physically absorbing the impact of our attacks from the other side. A guttural, soul-shaking growl vibrated through the gateway, answering the confusion of the leaders outside. A dragon beast? There's another one in there! The dragon beast is the deity's personal mount, his shadow. This confirms it. The god has truly manifested within that realm. A dragon's hide is nearly impenetrable and its mass is colossal. With it acting as a physical plug for the entrance, we have no way to force an entry. What's the alternative? Do we just stand here and twiddle our thumbs while a god regains his full strength? It's the end of the road. A fully realized god roaming the earth is a level of cataclysm that humanity simply cannot survive. Old Tan lashed out at their defeatism. Now you regret your hesitation, you bunch of idiots. If you had listened and struck when I first told you, we'd be inside by now. The Alliance leader sighed. Old Tan, save the lectures for later. Focus. We need a way to stop that divine form from descending. Old Tan suggested. We need a 9-star space grand mage to bypass these spatial locks and warp us directly into the heart of the realm. Old Lady Mew frowned. That's a sound plan, but a 9-star space grand mage is a myth. Does our dragon sector even harbor such a legend? The Alliance leader replied calmly, We do. Huacan blinked in surprise. Who? I've kept tabs on every powerhouse. I don't recall anyone fitting that description. The Alliance leader stated simply, It is I. Huacan was floored. Leader, I knew you were a master light mage, but a space grand mage as well? You're full of surprises. Old Tan let out a dry, sarcastic chuckle. As the head of the Dragon Sector's elite faction, you certainly keep your cards close to your chest. Why not drop the mask and show us your true face for once? The Alliance leader ignored the jab. Time is our enemy. Let's begin. Who among you is brave enough to go in first? The 3 pillars suddenly became very quiet, each looking for an excuse to avoid the front lines. Old Tan sneered at them. You cowardice lot! Aren't you supposed to be the elite faction, the pinnacle of humanity? And yet you're so terrified of a god that you won't even step through the door? Huacan snapped back defensively. Don't push it, Old Tan. If you're so fearless, why don't you lead the way? Fine, I'll go, and when I come back you'd better be ready to call me father for saving your hides. Huacan just grumbled under his breath, turning away. The Alliance leader signaled Old Tan. Step forward. I will initiate the spatial transfer now. Old Tan stood tall, ready to charge into the jaws of death. But to everyone's shock, the teleportation light flickered and died before he could pass through. The 3 pillars were baffled. What happened? Why is Old Tan still standing here? The Alliance leader's brow furrowed. The transfer failed. Old Tan's power level is too massive. The spatial anchor cannot forcibly pull someone of his caliber into the god realm. Old Lady Mew panicked. Then what are we supposed to do now? The Alliance leader stated coldly, We simply need candidates with a lower power ceiling than Old Tan. Who's stepping up first? Huacan shied away. I'm just a melee mage. Quite fragile, really. You guys take the lead. Ba Thien Tru pushed back. Ladies first, it's only polite. Old Lady Mew snapped. To hell with that. You men should be the ones charging in first. Old Tan sighed in deep disappointment. Everyone is terrified of their own shadow, selfish and opportunistic to the core. It's no wonder Tianqin Academy has fallen into such a state under your watch. Realizing this bickering would never end if he left it to them, the Alliance leader took decisive action. Enough chatter. All 3 of you are going in at once. The trio screamed in unison, Wait, great leader, let's talk about this! But the Alliance leader had already completed the incantation, warping the 3 elites into the secret realm before they could utter another protest. Inside the domain, Nui Tat Hoi whispered frantically, Is this our chance to bolt? Can we make a run for it now? Duit cautioned, Don't make any sudden moves. The fallen god hasn't focused on us yet. If he does, a single look from him could be our death sentence. But a deity's perception is sharp. How could he possibly miss the presence of the protagonist's party? Don Ting Ting gasped, He's locked onto us! The fallen god scanned them with a predatory gaze. You carry high-grade essence. You must have stumbled upon some treasures in my realm. You'll make the perfect fuel for my restoration. The protagonist reacted instantly, summoning a fleet of mystical flying donkeys. They scrambled onto the mounts, soaring through the air in a desperate attempt to outrun the deity. However, distance is meaningless to a god who can slip through space at will. Realizing they couldn't outrun him, the protagonist grit his teeth and decided to strike first. Everyone with long-range skills unleashed their most potent attacks in a massive synchronized barrage. Yet, the combined onslaught failed to even singe a single thread of the god's divine robes. It's useless. He possesses a celestial physique. Our mortal weapons and spells can't leave a scratch on him. The fallen god boomed, "Surrender, become one with my bloodline, and you shall share in this god's eternal life." The sheer weight of the god's aura crushed the air, sending the donkeys and the entire group crashing back to the earth. Guitathoy groaned in despair. "Damn it, this is it. My legendary life is ending before the first chapter is even finished." Duit tearfully squeezed out a final goodbye. "Brother To, I hope our paths cross much sooner in our next life." The protagonist snapped, "Stop the eulogies! We're still breathing, aren't we?" The deity sneered, "Breath is a technicality. For all intents and purposes, you are already corpses." The protagonist lunged forward with a bizarre, desperate technique. "Blade of Pleasure, Divine Egg Carver." In a surreal twist, the god's two testicles were cleanly severed and fell to the ground. The move was so absurdly unexpected that the deity failed to parry. He actually castrated me? How is this possible? How can a pathetic worm inflict such a vulgar wound upon my divine form?" The protagonist snatched up the two divine trophies. Guitathoy blinked in shock. Neutralizing a god by his jewels? What kind of insane skill is that? The protagonist yelled, "Stop staring and move! Run while he's in shock!" The god roared in humiliated rage, "You will suffer for this sacrilege!" At that precise second, the three 9-star powerhouses finally crashed through the spatial barrier into the god's realm. Ba True immediately started posturing. "Fallen god, your reign of terror ends today." The fallen god, already fuming, turned his wrath on them. "Insects, I will grind your bones to dust." Despite having no real plan, Ba True kept up his bravado. "Big words for a god on the brink. You're the only one who's going to die here." In a flicker of light, the fallen god appeared directly in front of Ba True. Before the dean could even raise a hand, a massive slap sent him spinning. "Who do you think you're talking to? Did I give you permission to speak?" He went tumbling across the rocks, landing right next to the injured Min Nyat Thien Then. The young man cried out, "Dean, are you all right? Did you bring help?" Ba True squinted and realized, "Min Nyat Thien Then, you're still alive in this hellhole?" Min Nyat Thien Then reached out a trembling hand. "Dean, please, get me out of here!" Ba True regained his composure, puffing out his chest. "Hold tight. The three of us will bring this deity down together." The god stalked toward them. "None of you are leaving this place alive." Old Lady Mew gritted her teeth. "He's coming in hot! Everyone attack at once!" The three self-titled champions of humanity formed a defensive line to intercept the deity. The god initially wanted to chase the egg thief, but then reconsidered. "Whatever. Those pests are trapped in here anyway. I'll devour you three first to mend my pride and my body." Old Lady Mew screamed, "Unleash everything! Don't hold back a single drop of mana!" Ba True roared, "Fallen god, witness the true might of a human 9-star master!" The deity glared at these insignificant 9-star pests with pure irritation. "So tiresome. I'll use your broken bodies to vent my frustration." The trio initially put on a grand display of courage and bravado, but with a casual flick of the god's wrist, that hollow confidence was instantly extinguished. Old Lady Mew trembled in horror. "Is it possible that not a single one of us can survive even a basic slap from a god?" Min Nyat Thien Then spotted Ba True face planted in the dirt and whispered, "Dean, are you still with us?" Ba True, face swollen and bruised, still tried to maintain his dignity with a shaky thumbs up. "I'm fine. That was merely a tactical assessment of his raw power." The protagonist and his crew sprinted a safe distance away before finally collapsing to catch their breath. Guitathoy exhaled in relief. "It looks like the big guy didn't bother chasing us down." Duit wiped the cold sweat from her brow. "I can't believe we actually escaped a god's clutches." Too Long added a grim warning, "Don't pop the champagne just yet." "We're still trapped in this realm. Tram literally castrated him. It's only a matter of time before he hunts us down for revenge." The protagonist examined his prizes curiously. "You know, for a god, these things aren't as impressive as I expected." Guitathoy looked physically ill. "Tram, why on earth are you still holding on to those? Toss them into the bushes immediately." The protagonist replied with a shrug. "It feels like a waste to just throw away high-grade loot." "This is prime divine material. Anyone here brave enough for a taste?" Hoy's skin crawled. "Get away from me! Don't you dare bring those disgusting things over here!" The protagonist tried to sell them on the idea. "You guys are missing out. This is the essence of a deity. It's definitely more potent than any treasure in this realm. It has to have some insane buffs. Anyone?" Everyone recoiled in unison. "That's revolting! Put them away! What kind of twisted logic are you using?" The protagonist sighed at their lack of vision. Since no one would take them and he wasn't about to eat them himself, he decided. "Fine, let the donkey have a snack." The lead donkey did not hesitate, snapping up the divine orbs in one swift gulp. The donkey suddenly bucked and shrieked, "Holy mother of... you absolute madman!" The protagonist's eyebrow arched. "Is the energy surge that intense?" The donkey wailed in a mix of pain and power. "Sweet heavens, what kind of radioactive junk did you just feed me?" System notification. Your donkey has consumed the essence of a deity and evolved into a level 2 spirit beast. The protagonist nodded, satisfied. "I figured as much. The divine diet is actually working. Another rank up." The lead donkey seemed to be going through a rather violent metamorphosis, cursing up a storm the entire time. System notification. Your donkey has absorbed more divine essence and evolved into a level 3 spirit beast. System notification. Your donkey's evolution continues. It has reached level 4 spirit beast status. It turns out the god himself is the best loot drop in this place. A tiny piece of flesh triggered a triple evolution in one go. After the 3-stage transformation, the lead donkey looked sleeker and more majestic than ever before. A palpable heavy pressure began to radiate from the creature's muscular frame. Hoy muttered in disbelief. "I'm pretty sure that donkey is more powerful than I am now." System notification. Your donkey has unlocked a unique ability, spiritual aura. The protagonist smiled. Those 2 orbs were definitely worth the trouble. The donkey has finally become a real asset. Back at the battlefield, the 3 9-star masters whispered in despair, "The power gap is a canyon. We literally can't touch him. What's the plan?" Minyut Tiantang was paralyzed with fear. "We're doomed. 3 9-star elites are no better than toddlers against a god, no resistance whatsoever." The fallen god looked down at them with profound disappointment. "You mortals are such a letdown. I suppose only the true legends of your race can provide a real challenge. For now, you will simply be absorbed into my being." The high-level masters scrambled to retreat, shouting for each other to save themselves. The deity prepared to deliver the final blow, but he suddenly froze mid-motion, his face contorting. "What? No, my essence! Someone actually consumed my divine parts!" The fallen god clutched his head in a mixture of agony and disbelief. "How is this possible? What kind of lunatic would actually eat those?" Old Lady Mew watched the god's breakdown, utterly bewildered. "What's happening to him?" Can caught a few frantic mutters. "I'm not sure, but it sounds like someone stole something extremely personal from him." The fallen god let out a primal scream. "I will find you and rip your soul apart." "Oh boy, he's gone from angry to completely unhinged." Can whispered, "Should we try to talk him down? We're sitting ducks here anyway." Old Lady Mew replied weakly, "We don't even have enough leverage to get a hello out of him right now." The god fumed. "I could have reattached them if you'd just stolen them, but you ate them. This is the greatest indignity any deity has ever endured." Can blinked as the god vanished. "Why did he just ditch us?" Old Lady Mew could only speculate. "He's hunting the thief. It seems those missing pieces were vital to his divine pride." True stammered, "What's our move? The fallen god is fundamentally unbeatable." Can shook his head. "Our only option is to play hide-and-seek and pray the god-tier experts outside can punch a hole through the barrier." True ordered Old Lady Mew to broadcast a warning to every soul in the realm to find cover. She immediately activated her high-frequency telepathy skill. "Attention all human operatives, hear me now. This is General Mew, a 9-star commander. The deity has risen and his power is absolute. Do not engage. Find a hole and crawl into it." Cut back to our hero. He patted the lead donkey. "All right, buddy, what exactly does this spiritual aura of yours do?" The donkey huffed. "Listen up, kid. It lets me sniff out hidden riches like a supernatural bloodhound." The protagonist rubbed his chin, intrigued. "So, you've basically become a living, breathing treasure radar." To prove its worth, the donkey tilted its head and sniffed the air. "Over there! Something smells expensive." Intrigued by the prospect of loot, the protagonist signaled the crew to investigate. The donkey stopped and forcefully struck the earth with its hoof. X marks the spot. Hoi rolled up his sleeves. Step aside. Let me unearth this mystery. Bingo! I've definitely hit something solid. Hoi triumphantly pulled a dark, pungent, squishy mass from the dirt. The moment the stench hit his nose, he recoiled in pure horror and flung the object away. Ugh, that's foul. It is earth spirit rabbit dung. Those bottom feeders bury their waste specifically because it smells like a rotting swamp. Hoi barked at the donkey. Are you kidding me? You're going to get us killed chasing after rabbit droppings. The donkey snorted, desperate for a second chance to redeem its reputation. But the group's bickering was cut short by Old Lady Mew's frantic psychic broadcast. The fallen god is awake and unstoppable. Abandon all missions. Hide and wait for the supreme powerhouses to arrive. Tu Long frowned. It sounds like even 3 9-star masters are getting pushed around. The protagonist turned to the group. No more games. Get to cover, now. He summoned a fleet of winged fire beasts to ferry his friends to a safe zone at top speed. The protagonist pondered. Against a god, my one strike is the only card I have. But against something that terrifying, I'll get exactly 1 shot. If I miss, it's game over. He continued, if he catches us, we're literal cinders. Our best bet is to stay off his radar entirely. Before they could move, a voice like grinding mountains echoed around them. Desecrating my divine form? Little brat, you better start praying because your time is up. Mercy, he's already closed the gap. The protagonist looked at his friends. We have to split up, now. Tu Long immediately protested. Absolutely not. If we scatter, he's going to hunt you down first. The protagonist looked her in the eye. If he catches us as a group, we all die. If I'm alone, at least you guys have a chance to live. Doan Ting Ting opened her mouth to argue, but the protagonist cut her off with a sharp look. Don't even start. I've got tricks you haven't seen. I'm much harder to catch if I'm not dragging a crowd behind me. Hoi knew the protagonist was right. Staying together was just a recipe for a total party wipe. He nodded grimly. To Tram, don't you dare die on us. With heavy hearts, the group vanished into the shadows in different directions. Meanwhile, Man Miu Miu was frantically scouting for a place to hunker down. The god is out for blood. If I'd known it would be this messy, I would have just stayed on the Abyss battlefield with my wife for some sparring. There's a cave opening up ahead. That'll have to do. By a stroke of fate, she reached the cave entrance just as the protagonist was arriving. Finally, a lucky break. Okay, donkey, this better be a real treasure this time and not a bathroom break. Man Miu Miu planted her hands on her hips, squinting at him. Wait a minute. Are you Tao Tram? The protagonist sighed, guilty as charged. Man Miu Miu scoffed. So you're the infamous homewrecker. The protagonist blinked, bewildered. Homewrecker? What are you even talking about, kid? Man Miu Miu huffed. You're messing with my wife. If that doesn't make you a third wheel, I don't know what does. The protagonist was completely lost in her bizarre logic. Slow down. You have a wife? And I'm having an affair with her? Who is she? Man Miu Miu declared, Mo Dong Lu Liam is my wife. The protagonist's jaw dropped. Wait, Mo Dong Lu Liam plays for both teams? That's news to me. Man Miu Miu pointed a finger at him. She belongs to me. You aren't allowed to steal her away. The protagonist was too drained to argue. Listen, Miu Miu, I don't care about your marital drama. I'm hiding in this cave because a god is about to turn this valley into a crater. Man Miu Miu stomped her foot as he walked past. Hey, I'm not done with you! Inside the dim cave, the two shared a tense, hushed exchange. The protagonist patiently broke it down. For the last time, I have nothing to do with Mo Dong Lu Liam. She just decided on her own that I'm her boyfriend. Despite the protagonist's best efforts to explain, Man Miu Miu remained completely unfazed. Lu Liam is incredibly stubborn. Once her mind is made up, there's no turning back. How can I possibly convince her to let you go? The protagonist had no desire to repeat himself. That's a you problem. It has nothing to do with me, and I have zero interest in getting involved. Man Miu Miu pondered aloud. If little Lu Liam is hell-bent on being your wife, then if I can't beat her, I'll just join her and become your wife too. The protagonist nearly choked on that bizarrely practical logic. Man Miu Miu continued her reasoning. If we're both married to you, I can stay by her side forever. Our bond would actually become even deeper. Isn't my plan just brilliant? The protagonist looked at her with an unreadable expression. You are even more eccentric than Mo Dung Lu Lim. Their conversation was cut short by a sudden, gut-wrenching cry of agony echoing through the tunnels. Man Miu Miu's expression sharpened. I sense a heavy demonic presence up ahead. Let's approach with caution. The source of the dark energy was none other than Nguyen Tien, struggling in the shadows. She clutched her head in despair, sobbing, Why is this happening to me? Miu Miu whispered, What kind of freakish creature is that? The protagonist narrowed his eyes, feeling a spark of recognition. I'm not sure. It's strange. Why does this feel so familiar? Nguyen Tien's torment intensified, her body and mind locked in a brutal struggle against the corruption. Man Miu Miu decided to seize the moment. That beast looks like it's having a total mental breakdown. This is the perfect time to take it down. The protagonist hissed, Wait! But Miu Miu was already in motion, unwilling to let the opening slip away. She let fly a precision arrow that pierced through Nguyen Tien's warped wing. The hit forced a fresh scream of absolute agony from Nguyen Tien's lips. The protagonist finally connected the dots and realized exactly who he was looking at. Man Miu Miu lunged forward, shouting, Direct hit! Let's finish this monster off! Nguyen Tien, now a half-human, half-demon hybrid, instinctively lashed out in self-defense. Man Miu Miu gasped, How is it moving that fast? Before she could react, Nguyen Tien utilized her newfound demonic strength to snare Man Miu Miu. Man Miu Miu shrieked in terror, I'm caught! Save me! Hurry! The protagonist's voice thundered through the cave. Stop! Let her go! Hearing a familiar voice, a flicker of human consciousness returned to Nguyen Tien's eyes. Because of her drastic physical change, the protagonist asked cautiously, Just to be sure, are you Vuong Nguyen Tien? Nguyen Tien squinted through the pain, recognizing her old classmate. As her humanity briefly reclaimed control, her grip loosened, and she absent-mindedly dropped the trembling Man Miu Miu. Man Miu Miu scrambled back, looking between them. To Tram, you actually know this thing? The protagonist's voice softened with concern. Nguyen Tien, what happened to you? Nguyen Tien recoiled, horrified by her own reflection. I've become an abomination. A monster. She pleaded with them. You have to go, right now, just leave me here and save yourselves. The protagonist refused to budge. Nguyen Tien, don't talk like that. You are the daughter of Marshal Vuong Long Tuong, a hero of our race. You aren't a monster. At the mention of her father and his ultimate sacrifice, Nguyen Tien's resolve crumbled into a fit of weeping. The protagonist stepped forward and gently wiped the crimson, bloody tears from her face to comfort her. He asked gently, Tell me everything. How did you end up in this state? Nguyen Tien whispered the terrifying truth. This very cave. It is the personal sanctuary of the fallen god. A heavy silence fell over them as Man Miu Miu's face turned pale with dread. We're dead! We're so dead! We tried to find a hiding spot and walked right into the lion's den. The protagonist remained remarkably calm. Actually, the most obvious hiding spot is often the most overlooked. He might never expect us to be right under his nose. After a long silence, Nguyen Tien finished her story. That's all I know. That is the grim reality of how I fell. Having heard the full tragedy, Man Miu Miu's heart melted. Sister, you've been through so much. You tried to be a hero only to be betrayed and cursed into this form. The protagonist asked seriously, What do you want to do now? Nguyen Tien, choosing a dignified end over a cursed life, looked at him. To Tram, kill me. I'm a freak, a ghost of my former self. The bloodlust in my veins is getting harder to control. If I stay alive, I'll eventually become a threat to the very people I wanted to protect. The protagonist shook his head immediately. Kill you? Don't be ridiculous. I'm not ending your life. Instead, I'm going to stand right here with you while we take that god's head together. Nguyen Tien's voice was thick with doubt. But look at what I've become. A monster. The protagonist and Man Miu Miu both stepped in to lift her spirits. Appearance is irrelevant. It doesn't change who you are. The fact that you're still worried about the fate of humanity proves that your soul remains untainted, regardless of the shell you're trapped in. As long as your heart beats with that same conviction, you can shield our people just like your father did before you. Tears welled in Nguyen Tien's eyes as she whispered, Do I truly still have the right to fight for mankind? The protagonist and Man Miu Miu gave her a resolute nod. Absolutely, sister, you've got this. Dry those tears. We're going to be right there in the trenches with you. The extinguished spark of hope within Nguyet Thien roared back to life. I hear you. Thank you to Tram for everything. Suddenly, the fallen god's voice boomed through the air like thunder. Mortal worm, you are trapped in a sanctuary of divinity. There is no escape. The protagonist turned to her urgently. Nguyet Thien, he's closing in. Do we have any cards left to play against him? Nguyet Thien revealed. The lethal aura meant to slay the god was stolen by that traitor Fan Do. If we reclaim it, we might actually stand a chance at piercing his hide. The protagonist frowned, unimpressed. Just wound him? Is a killing blow off the table? Nguyet Thien sighed. It might have worked earlier, but he's nearly at full strength now. Taking him down in one shot is almost impossible. Mon Mew Mew puffed out her cheeks in a pout. Ugh, if only my grandpa could bypass the barrier, he'd wipe the floor with this so-called god. The protagonist shook his head. As things stand, the door is locked tight. That dragon beast is camping the entrance, making sure no outside help can slip through. Nguyet Thien stood tall. Then we move. We can't just sit here waiting for the executioner. Let's hunt down Fan Do and take back that killing intent. The protagonist held up a hand, not ready to leave the cave just yet. He whistled for the lead donkey. You promised me treasure in here. Don't let me down now. Sniff it out. The donkey didn't hesitate, trotting straight toward a massive, gnarled tree in the center of the cavern. Nguyet Thien noted, that ancient tree is a conduit. The god uses it to siphon essence from the realm. Damaging it would definitely hurt his recovery. The lead donkey tried to take a massive chunk out of the trunk with its teeth. Unfortunately, the bark was like reinforced steel. The poor donkey nearly chipped its teeth without leaving a single mark. The donkey spat in frustration. Son of a, that thing is like chewing on a mountain. Nguyet Thien nodded understandingly. It's the cornerstone of his power. It wasn't designed to be broken easily. The protagonist threw a heavy punch at the trunk, but the impact didn't even cause a leaf to flutter. You're right. Conventional force isn't going to cut it here. Mon Mew Mew timidly raised her hand. I might have a trick for this. My specialty is making even the toughest things lose their edge. She placed her hands on the wood and activated her unique talent. And instantly, the iron-hard tree turned as limp and floppy as a soggy blade of grass. The protagonist's eyes nearly popped out. Good grief! How did you just turn that giant tree into a noodle? The lead donkey realized the buffet was finally open. Nguyet Thien smiled. It's softened up. It's all yours now. The lead donkey let out a celebratory bray to its herd. Listen up, kids. Feast like kings, leave nothing behind. In a matter of minutes, the donkey herd had devoured every last bit of the spiritual tree. Man Mew Mew beamed with pride. See? I told you I was useful. I can make anything go soft on command. The protagonist gave her a begrudging thumbs up. All right, I'm impressed. That's a pretty terrifying ability. Man Mew Mew added with a wink. That's not all. I can also make things go hard, unbreakably hard. As she mentioned the turning hard part, a tactical light flickered in the protagonist's eyes. Man Mew Mew noticed his intense gaze and her imagination ran wild. Blushing like a flustered anime heroine, she assumed the worst and swung a fist at him. You absolute pervert. Keep your dirty thoughts to yourself. The protagonist took the hit, looking completely baffled. I was thinking about you reinforcing my skin and gear for battle. Why is your mind in the gutter? Man Mew Mew froze, realizing she'd completely misinterpreted the vibe. Oh, skin and clothes? I thought you were talking about something else. The protagonist crossed his arms and sighed. Something else? Do you ever think about anything besides romance novels? With the tree completely cleared away, something hidden beneath the roots was finally exposed. Where the trunk had stood, a pulsating crimson orb now sat in the dirt. That thing looks incredibly ominous. I'm getting goosebumps just looking at it. Nguyet Thien leaned in closer. It's almost like it's alive. I can see it beating like a heart. The lead donkey did a little victory dance. Oh yeah, jackpot, real treasure found. The rest of the donkey herd broke out in a frantic, harmonized braying. The protagonist groaned. I knew it. Unreliable as always. You call this treasure? Nguyet Thien squinted at the orb. I'm certain this is a relic of pure demonic energy. This object must be vital to the fallen god's power, or he wouldn't have buried it in the core of his sanctuary. Whatever we do, we cannot let him reclaim it. The protagonist looked at the orb with grim resolve. Then there's only one option. destroy it. Though the fallen god hadn't localized them, he felt a sharp tremor in his essence. What? The ancient siphon I used to drain human life, it's been severed? That's impossible. That tree was built to withstand the weight of worlds. Curse them, I was mere moments away from a full resurrection. If that conduit is gone, my divine form will remain a hollow shell. Damn it! And the holy fetus being cultivated beneath the roots. If anything happens to it, my future is ruined. Whoever dared to touch it, I will make your final moments the most agonizing in the history of existence. Whitteen slashed at the orb, but her blade bounced off harmlessly. It's just like the tree. It seems completely indestructible. Mon Miu Miu bit her lip in frustration. It's no use. This thing is already soft and jelly-like by nature. My softening powers have nothing left to affect. The protagonist adapted quickly. If we can't smash it, we steal it. Pack it up. The god suddenly shattered the cavern wall, his voice booming, "Nobody is leaving this room alive." The protagonist's heart skipped a beat. Hell, he tracked us down faster than I thought. Mon Miu Miu stood paralyzed under the god's gaze. The pressure is suffocating. Is there any way out of this? The fallen god locked eyes with the protagonist, and his fury reached a boiling point. First you mutilated my vessel, then you cut my lifelines. I will keep you alive just so you can beg for death. The protagonist scooped up the holy fetus and bolted like a man possessed. The god roared, "Insignificant maggot! Keep your filthy mortal hands off the holy fetus!" Knowing he couldn't outrun a deity on foot, the protagonist activated his ace. Donkey head dimension, open! Even the fallen god blinked in confusion. What is this? He's slipping through the fabric of space? As the portal opened, the protagonist reached back to grab the two girls. Whitteen reacted with lightning speed, snatching Mon Miu Miu and diving headlong into the donkey's pocket dimension. With the three humans safely inside, the lead donkey prepared to blink out of existence. The fallen god lunged, but he was a split second too late. Vanished, a mortal using high-level spatial folding. The lead donkey let out a mocking, tearful laugh. You're a real slow-witted god, aren't you? Just as the god's claws were about to turn the donkey into a red mist, the creature sneered one last time and dissolved into thin air. Too slow, big guy. Smell you later. In all his eons of existence, the fallen god had never felt a humiliation as stinging as this. You little brat, show your face! Come out and face me like a man! Hide all you want, but you are still a prisoner in my realm. I will find you and I will pull you apart piece by piece. Inside the donkey's internal world, the landscape resembled a vast, midnight desert. The giant insect monster, now thoroughly broken and serving as a servant, whimpered, "Master Vo Tuong, please. My tear ducts are bone dry." Vo Tuong delivered a sharp poke to the monster. "If you're out of tears, I'll just have to beat the moisture out of you. Keep crying, your master needs 10 liters of monster tears for his collection." The insect pleaded pathetically, "Master, please, no more hitting. I'll cry. Look, a puddle." Vo Tuong clicked his tongue in boredom. Pathetic. The tears of a dim-witted bug are barely worth the effort. The insect monster sniffled. "Master, you beat me into a crying fit every single day. How is that supposed to stay entertaining for you?" Suddenly, the protagonist manifested in the center of the desert, still clutching the pulsating holy fetus. Vo Tuong squinted into the gloom. "An intruder? Am I finally going senile in this hole?" He realized it wasn't just one person. 3 of them had just crashed his private prison. Mon Miu Miu looked around in awe. A self-contained universe inside a dragon horse? This is incredible. Even a god can't track a signature through an independent dimension. The insect monster chirped, "Master, you're not hallucinating. We actually have guests." The protagonist offered a casual wave. "Hey, Vo Tuong, long time no see." Vo Tuong's face twisted into a snarl. "You little punk! You dare come back here? Big bug, eat him! I want his head on a plate!" The protagonist held up his hands, shouting, "Wait! Hold your horses, Vo Tuong! I didn't come here to fight. I'm here to offer you a deal." Vo Tuong burst out laughing, a bitter, hollow sound. "A deal? You think you have leverage? Do you have any idea what it's like being trapped in this void for so long? No sunlight, no change of scenery, just me and this oversized worm to keep me company. It's a living hell." The insect monster wailed in harmony. "Do you have any idea? It's dark, it's boring, and I get beaten every single hour." The protagonist stood his ground and spoke calmly. "Relax. I came here today specifically to give you back your freedom. Votuong let out a disdainful snort. You've suddenly developed a conscience and decided to set me free? The protagonist played it cool, intending to lure him into service. I'll let you walk, but freedom comes with a few strings attached. Votuong was no fool. He possessed a sharp, cynical mind. Hold on, something smells fishy. You're clearly in over your head, kid. Why else would you drag two little girls into this void just to strike a bargain with me? The protagonist felt a pang of frustration. Great, this guy is way too observant to bluff. Votuong narrowed his eyes. That girl mentioned a god couldn't find you here. You're hiding from a disaster, aren't you? Without warning, the giant worm lunged at the newcomers with predatory speed. Palm struck out, slicing through the air with precision. Nguyen Tien slammed into the insect monster, repelling its massive bulk with a single, powerful blow. The insect monster paused, its many eyes twitching in confusion. This scent. Are we of the same bloodline? Nguyen Tien snapped back. I am a human! Don't you dare compare me to a repulsive parasite like you! Votuong delivered a sharp smack to the worm's head. Stop the idle chatter, just tear them apart. The insect monster bared its mandibles at the protagonist. It's been an eternity since I've had a fresh meal. The protagonist quickly brandished a shimmering object to stall them. Votuong, take a good look at this. Even a genius like Votuong was willing to hit the brakes when presented with something he truly desired. Votuong stared at the tear in the protagonist's palm. Exquisite, ethereal, and so crystal clear. It's radiant. I've never seen a specimen so flawless. The protagonist let out a silent sigh of relief. Thank goodness I bottled that tear from Nguyen Tien earlier. It's the perfect bait for him. Votuong was genuinely intrigued. This tear carries the essence of humans, demons, and gods. It's a literal one-of-a-kind. Where did you find it? The protagonist ignored the question and smirked. The real question is, do you want it? Votuong didn't hesitate. I want it. More than anything I've seen in this void. The protagonist laid out the trap. If you want it, sign a contract of loyalty to me. Do that, and not only do you get the tear, but I'll also open the door to the outside world. Votuong's lips curled into a thin, mocking smile. The protagonist frowned. What's so funny? Votuong chuckled. I'm laughing at your ignorance. You're like a frog at the bottom of a well. I am Votuong, the embodiment of miracles. To the physical world, I am an absolute force of nature, the peak that life can never scale. You, a tiny creature who can't even secure his own safety, think you can bind me? The protagonist rolled his eyes. Save the ego trip. We can still talk business. Votuong continued his lecture on superiority. My existence is on a plane far above yours. A soul contract is physically impossible. The protagonist snapped. Give it to me in plain English. Votuong sighed. Simply put, I am not a biological being like you or the demons. I am inorganic life, a cosmic anomaly. Because I am not a natural creature, I cannot be bound by a standard contract. Unsure if it was a lie or a technicality, the protagonist pivoted. Fine, how about you promise me 10 favors instead? Votuong held up 3 fingers. I'll give you 3. No more. The protagonist nodded instantly. Done. Votuong reached out for his prize immediately. Sublime. To finally own such a perfect masterpiece. Like myself, this is a true work of the Creator. The protagonist rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The tear is yours. We'll lay low here while I decide how to use those 3 favors. Votuong turned to the insect monster and said coldly, kill them all. The loyal bug didn't hesitate to follow his master's grim command. The protagonist shouted in shock, You son of a... You just gave me your word! Votuong replied calmly, And I am a man of my word. You just haven't used it yet. The protagonist spoke rapidly as the worm neared. First favor, you are strictly forbidden from harming me or my companions. Votuong raised a hand and the giant worm froze in its tracks. Votuong smiled placidly. There we go, first favor redeemed and completed. The protagonist cursed under his breath. Votuong, you are absolute scum. Votuong added a crafty postscript. Remember, big worm, I cannot harm them. I never said anything about you. The giant worm's eyes glowed. Understood, boss. I'm still free to play. Trapped by the loophole, the protagonist barked, Second favor, make this giant worm sign a soul contract with me. Votuong sighed and signaled the monster to stand down again. He then commanded the beast to submit to the human's contract. The monster whined, "But boss, I want to stay with you." Vo Tuong shrugged. "It's fine. Sign it. Once this brat kicks the bucket, you'll be right back by my side." The protagonist was fuming. "Damn it, this guy is a shark. I've burned through 2 favors just to keep us from being eaten." The insect monster begrudgingly offered a glowing droplet of its life essence. This was the sacred contract blood. A demon beast only yields 1 drop in its entire life. Unless the master perishes, the beast is bound to their every command forever. The insect monster glared at him. "Listen, kid, you might hold my leash for now, but I am royalty of the insect realm. You're just a hairless monkey. I'm only doing this because my boss said so." The protagonist pressed the insect monster's glowing essence blood firmly against his forehead. The bond is sealed. This sensation is leagues beyond owning my donkeys. While the donkeys are extensions of my own body that obey every instinct, this titan insect feels more like a summoned entity. I can call it forth, but I can't yet bend its will to my whims. It looks like I'll need to spend some serious time breaking this giant bug's spirit later. But just as the protagonist started to worry about control, fate decided to roll out the red carpet for him once again. The insect monster suddenly began to shudder, gasping out, This is impossible." Vo Tuong rapped the insect on the head. "What are you screeching about? Pull yourself together." The insect monster stammered, There is an aura radiating from him that paralyzes my soul. It is a presence so noble and ancient, saturated with a terrifying supreme majesty." Realizing the beast was actually terrified of him, the protagonist mused, "An aura? I shouldn't have anything like that, unless it's a residual effect from that white god holy fetus I'm holding." With that realization, half the battle of subduing the creature was already won. The insect monster looked at him in awe. "Who are you, truly? Where did you get this emperor-like presence that outshines the sun and moon?" Since the monster had already reached the wrong conclusion, he decided to lean into the mystery for a permanent advantage. He spoke with chilling gravity. "You aren't even worthy of the answer. Do you still intend to act superior in my presence?" Crushed by the sheer weight of the bloodline suppression, the insect monster lowered its head in submission. "Forgive me. I won't pretend anymore. My arrogance was a mistake. From this moment on, I live only to serve my master." The protagonist smiled inwardly. "I've actually tamed this titan worm. That holy fetus must have a background more insane than I imagined." Meanwhile, in the world outside the dimension, the fallen god was scouring the horizon, hunting for the man who had humiliated him. "I can't track him. Even a trace of that brat's signature has vanished into thin air. How? Not even a god of space should be able to hide this effectively. Even if my physical vessel is shattered, I cannot lose that holy fetus. If he won't come out, I'll tear the world down until he does. In my divine name, I decree the total annihilation of this fallen god realm." This marked the beginning of the end for the realm's boundaries. Driven by the deity's wrath, the very foundations of the secret world began to convulse and shatter. To illustrate his cruelty, a group of students hiding in the brush felt the change. "The fallen god won't find us here. This place is a ghost town. If we can just stay low until the masters from the outside world break through, we've won." Suddenly the earth groaned beneath them, and as the youths looked around in panic, the very ground they stood upon split open like a piece of dry parchment. Deep, jagged chasms tore through the landscape, widening with every heartbeat. One of the youths lost his balance on the shifting soil. He vanished into the dark abyss below. Despite his desperate screams, his companions were too busy fighting for their own footing to save him. "It's the apocalypse! The entire fallen god realm is being wiped from existence!" A voice like grinding stone echoed in the minds of the survivors. "I am your god. I have decided to erase this realm, sparing only the heart of the central zone. If you wish to cling to your miserable lives, run to the center immediately." A student cried out in despair, "The god is purging the world, what do we do?" Another student, though trembling, spoke with grim logic. "We move. If we stay, we die now. If we go, we face the god and die later. I'll take the extra few minutes." Outside the barrier, the Alliance leader and Old Tan watched the realm's aura begin to bleed and flicker. The fallen god is collapsing the entire dimension. It's a slaughterhouse in there. None of them can survive. You bastard. If you've touched my granddaughter, I will tear the heavens down to end you, God. The vibration was so intense it was felt even within the donkey's pocket dimension. Do you guys feel that shaking? Something's wrong. Nguyt-Tin and Vo-Tuong looked solemn. The outer world is disintegrating. Everything and everyone out there is being erased. Nguyt-Tin added, the fallen god is setting the house on fire just to smoke us out. The protagonist snapped his fingers with a confident smirk. In that case, let's give him what he wants. Leaving only the giant insect monster behind, the protagonist led the group back through the portal. In a flash of light, they rematerialized in the dying secret realm. They were immediately greeted by the sight of terrified youths sprinting for their lives. Faster! The world is falling apart behind us. We have to reach the center to survive. Nguyt-Tin's eyes filled with sorrow. This catastrophe might wipe out the entire next generation of Dragon Sector elites. This is a crushing blow for all of humanity. The moment Tatram stepped out of the donkey space, the deity's radar pinged. There you are. I've found you, little thief. The fallen god altered his course, soaring toward the protagonist's location like a vengeful comet. The protagonist glanced at the floating cube. Hey, Rubix, I'm sure you've already figured out your second favor. I want you to go out there and take that god's head. Vo-Tuong nodded with effortless confidence. Consider it done. I'll be back before you can blink. Miu watched the cube fly off, skeptical. Is that little puzzle block really a match for a literal deity? The protagonist couldn't be sure, but he admitted that Rubik's block is an enigma. Even I can't measure the depths of its power. It's as mysterious as it is deadly. The words had barely left the protagonist's mouth when Vo-Tuong came flying back, crashing into the dirt exactly where he started. The protagonist was stunned to see Vo-Tuong get tossed aside like a rag doll after only a few seconds of engagement. The fallen god materialized in a storm of divine pressure, radiating a suffocating, majestic aura. Mortal worm, surrender the holy fetus this instant or face eternal torment. But if the fallen god was draped in arrogance, Vo-Tuong was practically made of it. A feathered freak like you actually has the audacity to lay a finger on a supreme entity such as myself? The fallen god didn't view the strange floating cube as even a remote threat. A formless, faceless scrap of junk. I see how it is. You're just a nuisance. The deity casually flicked his wrist as if swatting a fly. With that simple gesture, he sent Vo-Tuong spiraling through the air with explosive force. Watching the lopsided exchange, Miu realized it's not even close. He's being completely dominated. Nguyt-Tin, with her heightened senses, saw the terrifying truth. The gap is too wide. Every flick of the god's finger carries enough lethality to erase a 9-star master. Despite the beating, Vo-Tuong's ego remained intact. I am the eternal Vo-Tuong. You are a mere primitive organism, yet you dare challenge my divine miracles. The fallen god found this peculiar object to be an even bigger braggart than himself. A primitive organism? Your delusions are almost as impressive as your mouth. Vo-Tuong barked back. Fine! I shall now slip into the void of invisibility. Prepare for a thrashing you won't see coming. The fallen god scoffed, amusing. Try your worst. Curiously, the god's physical strikes seemed to pass right through thin air, even though Vo-Tuong remained clearly visible right before his eyes. Noticing the deity's flicker of confusion, Vo-Tuong let out a boastful cackle. How do you like that? Feeling the weight of my miraculous perfection yet? Realizing physical strikes were being phased out, the god shifted to more specialized restraints. Mystic Glimmer Cage, descend! Vo-Tuong instinctively tried to slip into his usual intangible state to bypass the bars, but he suddenly realized his spatial abilities were being jammed by the divine frequency. A ceiling formation? You primitive life form, I'll admit you've got a few tricks up your sleeve. The fallen god looked at Vo-Tuong as if he were a performing clown. Enough theater. I shall erase you now. The god summoned the dreaded purple celestial fire. The violet flames roared to life, engulfing Vo-Tuong in a searing furnace. Miu scrambled backward, struggling to stay clear of the radiating heat. Having embraced her demon form, Nguyt-Tin endured much better. The intensity of those flames, they're on par with a forbidden magic calamity. ManHwa whispered in dread, that Rubik's Cube is going to be nothing but a pile of melted slag. Yet from within the heart of the inferno, Vo Tuong's voice drifted out. Exquisite! This is like a high-end spa treatment. Give me more! The fallen god's eyes narrowed. Still clinging to your bravado? Very well, you've earned my true indignation. Ultimate spiral spiritual blast! A concentrated beam of divine energy hammered down directly onto Vo Tuong. A thunderous explosion rocked the entire cavern, shaking the foundations of the realm. When the dust cleared, Vo Tuong was perfectly unscathed. That little toy barely tickled. Put some muscle into it next time. The fallen god began to genuinely reevaluate the strange cube. Impossible. That move was designed to shatter stars. The protagonist muttered to himself, the cube's offensive power is a joke compared to a god, but its durability is absolutely god tier. Believing the god was out of options, Vo Tuong turned up the heat. A grand existence like me is eternal. Grovel at my feet and I might ignore your insolence. The fallen god's voice suddenly turned eerily calm. Your properties. You remind me of a certain item from legend. At those words, Vo Tuong's confidence finally buckled. Blast it! Has he seen through my origin? The fallen god manifested the chains of proclamation. I shall bind you and peel back your layers one by one, if you truly are that artifact. This is a windfall beyond my wildest dreams. I could transcend my current divinity entirely. The god channeled his power to drag Vo Tuong into a specialized decomposition space. Vo Tuong let out a panicked shriek. Kid! To tram! Get me out of here! The protagonist knew he had to act. Not for Vo Tuong's sake, but to prevent the god from evolving. But he was stuck. The cube is failing! Everyone get back into the donkey dimension! Vo Tuong thrashed against the chains. To tram! Help! This old psycho wants to take me apart piece by piece! The protagonist shouted back, I'm sorry, I don't have the power to break those chains. Facing total annihilation, Vo Tuong ejected a glowing miniature version of himself toward the protagonist. What on earth is that? The minicube screamed, This is my true essence! I'm initiating a soul contract with you! Just save me, quickly! Vo Tuong's desperate gamble only confirmed the god's suspicions. So frantic, I'm now 90% certain. With you in my grasp, I could discard this entire realm and never look back. To prevent the deity from ascending to even greater power, and to secure a definitive trump card for himself, the protagonist saw every reason to finalize the pact. The bond is sealed. The Rubik's Cube is now bound to my soul. However, the connection feels remarkably distinct and one of a kind. Vo Tuong panicked and shrieked, Don't just stand there, summon me back already! The protagonist commanded, By the authority of our pact, Rubik's Cube entity, return to your master! In a flash of light, Vo Tuong slipped through the deity's iron grip and vanished. It worked. The Rubik's Cube has been successfully recalled into the sanctuary of my own body. The fallen god's patience hit rock bottom, constantly sabotaging my designs. Little worm, do you truly have a death wish or just an infinite supply of lives? The protagonist prepared to retreat into the donkey dimension with his two companions. The fallen god's fury erupted into a chilling laugh. If I allow you to slip through my fingers one more time, I would be unworthy of the title of deity. Realizing the portal wouldn't open fast enough, the protagonist signaled the girls. Change of plans. Give me everything you've got for a single strike. Wit-Teen lunged forward, her eyes ablaze. I've been waiting for the signal! ManHwa cast aside her fear for a desperate gamble. Count me in, let's do this! The fallen god dismissed them as mere insects twitching in their final moments, mocking, Your audacity is almost as large as your ignorance. You actually think you can draw blood from a god? However, his sheer arrogance left him wide open, allowing the protagonist's specialized skill to successfully pierce his divine defenses. In that split second of divine shock, the protagonist drove the advantage home with another brutal hit. The fallen god reeled, his mind blank with disbelief. What is this sorcery? While the deity was momentarily paralyzed by the impossibility of the wound, the trio seized the opening and vanished. The fallen god stood frozen in the wreckage. How can this be? I'm actually bleeding! And those two strikes just erased 20% of my divine essence. Their power levels are laughable. Why were they able to carve into my flesh? Heavens, what kind of anomaly is this? After escaping the jaws of death once again, Man Miu Miu looked at the protagonist with genuine awe. To Tram, we actually made a god bleed. I think I finally get why little Lu Lim is so obsessed with you. The protagonist replied with grounded logic. My ability is devastating, sure, but it only landed because that god thought he was invincible. Once he starts taking us seriously, we won't even get within 10 paces of him. Wit Tian nodded grimly. Exactly. Next time he won't be playing around. One flick of his finger and we're history. The fallen god's scream echoed through the void. To Tram, you rotting parasite! Hiding again? Fine. I'll burn the world until there's nowhere left to crawl. The second you show your faces, I will erase you from existence without a moment's hesitation. At the epicenter of the dying secret realm, the surrounding reality has completely crumbled away. Only this solitary patch of desolate earth remains intact. There's no more cover. The fallen god is herding us all into a corner like livestock. If his only goal was to kill us, he wouldn't bother with these theatrics. He's definitely after something, or someone. The survivors wept in terror. What's happening? Are the elite masters from the outside world ever coming to save us? The fallen god manifested in the sky, his voice a thunderclap. No savior is coming for you. One youth, his bravado outrunning his common sense, shouted, Since when does a mangy demon bird talk so much trash? Already seething from his earlier humiliation, the deity wasn't in the mood for insults. With a casual glance, the youth was instantly vaporized into a cloud of ash. What kind of monster is this? A single word ends a life. Is he a true deity? The fallen god's aura expanded, crushing the atmosphere. Every one of you, kneel! No one dared to meet his gaze. The sheer pressure made their bones rattle. This is soul-crushing. He really is a god. Li Loi, huddled in the kneeling crowd, scanned the faces around him. Weird. Where are Tram and the others? With his bag of tricks, there's no way he didn't make it this far. But with the world literally vanishing around us, where could they possibly be hiding? The deity's voice boomed again. Listen well. Your survival now rests entirely in the hands of a single human. The crowd murmured in a mix of terror and confusion. A human holds our lives? Who? Who could possibly have that much leverage over a god? Old Lady Mew whispered. It seems the god is using us as bait to lure someone out. I just can't fathom who would be that important. The god declared, his name is Tram. The veterans from Tian Kin Academy gasped in shock. What? Tram? Old Lady Mew caught their reaction and turned sharply. You know this person. Ba Thian Tru stammered. Yeah, unfortunately. The kid's a first year at our academy. Old Lady Mew blinked in disbelief. A freshman? Why on earth would a deity be hunting a mere student? Huak Kan, unable to hide his disdain, added, Who knows? That brat is a magnet for trouble and has been a constant headache for the faculty. Hui Tuthoi whispered to himself in the crowd. Sounds like Tram is doing just fine. Otherwise, the god wouldn't be this desperate to find him. Several panicked youths shouted at the sky, Fallen god! Whatever grudge you have with Tram has nothing to do with us. Let us go. Tram is the one who offended you. So why are you taking it out on us? Faced with people whose heads are clearly filled with swamp water, the deity simply snuffs them out to save himself the mental fatigue of listening to them. Hidden within the donkey's pocket dimension, the protagonist's group saw everything. He's executing one person every second. The fallen god is smoking us out. The protagonist was cornered. He's a nightmare to fight. Is there any trick left in the book to take down a literal god? Nguyen clutched her head in frustration. The fact that we managed to draw blood earlier was already a 1 in a million fluke. In the entire history of human conflict, that almost never happens. To put it bluntly, we are mere mortals challenging a divine being. The power gap is a canyon. I'm out of ideas. Man Miu Miu hesitated, biting her lip. Actually, there might be a way. The protagonist cut in instantly. What is it? Talk to me. Man Miu Miu shook her head gloomily. Forget it. It's basically a fantasy. It's fundamentally impossible to pull off. The protagonist pushed. Give it to us straight. Man Miu Miu finally spilled the secret. Our only hope is to get those god-tier powerhouses from the outside into this realm. But my grandfather and the other legends are currently locked out by the barrier. However, to bypass that seal, there is one highly classified method. The protagonist leaned in. I'm listening. We would need to use the private spatial corridors of the 12 thrones to infiltrate this place. Nguyet Tien's eyes lit up with sudden understanding. Nguyet Tien realized why Miu Miu was so pessimistic. A private corridor of the 12 thrones? Doesn't that mean one of those legendary 12 must already be inside this realm to act as an anchor? Mon Miu Miu looked defeated. Exactly. My grandfather once told me that the 12 thrones can use these personal tunnels to rendezvous in any specific coordinate together. The 12 members of the thrones can step into each other's private corridors, as if they were walking through their own front doors. Nguyet Tien slumped back in despair. Then it's a dead end. There isn't a single god-tier powerhouse in here with us. Mon Miu Miu sighed. I told you, bringing it up was just a waste of breath. But the protagonist's eyes sparked with a sudden realization. Actually, that plan is perfect. It's stealthy and instantaneous. We could drop a godslayer right on his head before he even blinks. Mon Miu Miu groaned. What's the use of dreaming? We don't have the key. The protagonist grinned. Oh, but we do. Mon Miu Miu crossed her arms, annoyed. This isn't the time for jokes. The protagonist's expression turned dead serious. He snapped his fingers with a sharp crack. Suddenly, the majestic astral tower materialized, hovering silently above his head. Nguyet Tien's jaw dropped. Is that the actual astral tower? Could this truly be the legendary beacon of the 12 thrones? Mon Miu Miu covered her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. It is! That's the astral tower! I've seen my grandfather commune with it many times! Tram, are you secretly a god-tier powerhouse? Clearly not. Otherwise he'd be out there playing soccer with the god's head by now. Mon Miu Miu was utterly baffled. If you aren't one of the world's strongest, how on earth do you have the astral tower in your pocket? Outside, the deity noted that another 60 seconds had ticked by without a sign of Tram. Since the boy is a coward, another one of you must pay the price for his absence. The terrified youths began babbling frantically. Great God, you can't punish the innocent. We don't even like Tram. He's nothing to us. If the fallen god had a shred of mercy for human life, his very existence wouldn't be a walking apocalypse. With a casual snap of his fingers, another group of lives was snuffed out in an instant. The weak-minded, unable to direct their fear at the god, would inevitably turn their venom toward the easiest target, the missing Tram. The fallen god announced coldly, "The clock is still ticking. Who's next?" The students, who usually thrived on survival of the fittest, were now begging for fairness as the axe hung over their necks. This is insane! He's a monster! He's treating us like insects! If Tram doesn't show up, we're all dead meat! Even the 9-star elites, who usually walked with their heads high, were shivering in the dirt. One of us is going to be in that next pile of bodies. If we want to survive the next minute, we have to drag Tram out of whatever hole he's hiding in. Nguyet Tien couldn't watch any longer. The body count is rising. He's actually doing it. The protagonist stood up. Stay here. I'm going to go fetch us some god-tier backup. Mon Miu Miu grabbed his sleeve. Tram, my grandfather is the 9th throne. Use the supreme astral tower to link directly to his signal. Take my personal jade pendant. Once he sees it, he'll know you're the real deal. The protagonist gripped the cool jade firmly. He immediately submerged his consciousness into the vast space of the astral tower. Supreme astral tower, establish a secure link to the 9th throne, now! The tower's voice resonated through the void. Initiating connection to the 9th throne. Suddenly, a surge of energy was yanked directly from the protagonist's forehead. He gasped, feeling a significant drain on his essence. I guess using the ultimate hotline of the gods comes with a pretty hefty roaming fee. Standing outside the barrier, Old Tan muttered through gritted teeth, Fallen god, if you lay a finger on my granddaughter, I'll burn my very soul to ash just to take you down with me. Suddenly he jolted, his eyes snapping open in shock. Wait, the newly appointed 13th throne is reaching out to me? Old Tan vanished from his spot in the blink of an eye. He submerged into the astral tower's dimension, choosing to forego his usual anonymity. Both parties were now visible to one another. Old Tan stared in disbelief. You're the new 13th throne? You're just a kid. The protagonist gestured for Old Tan to pull back his shadowy hood. Old Tan gasped, How could you possibly know my true face? The protagonist didn't waste a second. My name is Tram. I'm a freshman at Tiankin Academy. Old Tan stood paralyzed as the words sank in. What did you say? A first-year student? This has to be some kind of elaborate prank. The protagonist held up the distinctive jade pendant. Old Tan, if my word isn't enough, maybe this will convince you. Old Tan's pupils dilated. That belongs to Mew Mew. Why on earth do you have her personal treasure? To Tram replied, Mew Mew handed it to me. She said this would be the only way to earn your absolute trust. Old Tan's voice trembled. Mew Mew is trapped inside that nightmare realm. If you have her pendant, does that mean... The protagonist nodded firmly. Exactly. I just stepped out of the fallen god realm to find you. Old Tan was floored. Incredible. A boy who hasn't even touched the divine realm has somehow awakened the astral tower. Tram cut him off urgently. Old Tan, we're out of time. The god has begun a massacre. You need to gather the other god-tier legends and follow me back into the realm immediately. Old Tan's expression darkened. Rallying the other thrones, that's going to be nearly impossible. The protagonist's heart sank. How is that possible? We're talking about the extinction of our best and brightest. Old Tan sighed bitterly. Humanity is a fractured house. Most of the thrones are fully aware of the Dragon Sector's plight, but their silence proves they've decided to let it burn. Beyond that, I have reason to believe a traitor for the alien invaders sits among our highest ranks. I can't risk trusting them. The protagonist's brow furrowed. Then we're on our own. What's the move? Old Tan straightened his back. I'm going in with you. I'll face that deity myself and fight until my last breath. The protagonist looked him in the eye. Are you certain you can take him? Old Tan checked his gear. If we catch him off guard, and considering he's still not at full strength, I'd say I've got a 50-50 shot at winning. The protagonist gripped Old Tan's hand. Deal. I'll draw his focus and give you the perfect opening to strike.